Aita for being upset that my husband of 18 years left me alone at the hospital when I was bleeding internally. I'm really not happy with how things went down last weekend, so I thought I'd scream into the void and see if the void screams back. I don't have any friends I could talk to about this. I, 43F, had severe abdominal pain in the lower right side of my abdomen on a Saturday night, so bad that I thought about going to the ER, but I'm slightly phobic about hospitals and ER visits are expensive, so I didn't. It ended up feeling somewhat better by the next morning, so I put it out of my mind and was just careful, thinking I had pulled a muscle or something. 2 days later I found massive purple bruises on my stomach, very near where the random pain had been still was, which of course freaked me TF out. I first went to my OBGYN in case my IUD had slipped and perforated something, but my IUD was fine, and no ovarian cysts rupturing going on. She sent me to my primary care. After tons of poking and prodding, painfully I might add, she sent me directly to the ER, even going so far as to call the head nurse in the ER to tell them I was coming and what my symptoms were. Her thought was that it was appendicitis, even though I had no nausea or other symptoms of that. Long story short, after scans, labs and testing was done, I have a hematoma of the rectal sheath, rip in the abdominal wall outside the colon, and the bruises were caused by it bleeding internally. I went to the ER about 11:30 to noon on Friday and spent the next 10-ish hours there before a room opened up for me and I was admitted. They weren't sure if I was going to need surgery to correct it, and no one had any idea what caused this, so the concern of more other internal bleeding was big. My husband, 49M, was at work at the time. My husband picked up my 7-year-old from school at 3 p.m. and went home. His mom is retired, alone, husband passed April 2024, and loves to spend time with the kids. I also have a 23F, but he didn't ask her to pick up our son or watch him so my husband could sit with me. He waited until 7:30 p.m. to bring me food in the ER. I hadn't eaten all day because I was fasting to do blood work at my primary care appointment, stayed with me for about 30 minutes and went home again. At that point I still wasn't sure if I needed surgery, so I couldn't eat or drink anything after midnight. The next day I didn't see him until after my food-drink intake was permitted again, so about 11:30 a.m. or so, my hospital lunch was delivered about 20 minutes after he arrived, and he left after my doctor gave his update. He missed the oncologist and hematologist though. I had to deal with that terrifying prospect alone. My mom died of leukemia when I was 15. He wasn't very happy with the doctor, which I totally get. The doc was really off-putting and borderline unprofessional, asking if my husband hit me to both of us, in the same room, after being asked this exact question at least 20 times, by several different hospital staff prior to this. I was even asked if there was anyone I wanted to restrict from the hospital and said no, but he kept harping on it and was visibly angry, but he insisted he wasn't mad at me. I get that it was offensive, but I didn't understand why that took precedence over what was going on with my health and mental well-being. This was my first time being a patient in a hospital, besides when my 2 kids were born, and my prior experience with hospitals was anything but pleasant. Between my mom's cancer and daughter's medical issues from birth until age 12, I spent way too much time there already. He kept bringing the doctor's comment up, then complained that the chaplain came by after me saying I didn't want the chaplain. I'm pagan, freaked him out a bit when he came by, but that's another story, then got mad about the amount the hospital was charging the insurance company. Not what they were charging us, what they charged the insurance. I felt like the whole time I was in there, all he did was act upset and angry, and, though he kept saying he wasn't mad at me, I felt like it was all about him and his feelings. I finally got to drive myself home from the hospital about 3:30 p.m. on Monday, so it was almost 4 days in the hospital. My husband came 3 of the 4 days and stayed about 20-30 minutes each day. He's off weekends by the way, and missed every doctor except that one. When I got home, I got a shower to wash off the stink of disinfectant and then it was straight back to normal, as though I had never been gone. My son gave me a hug, and then ran off. Fine, he's 7. My husband played video games until dinner, then ate and helped with some of the dishes. No, let me do that. You're not supposed to be exerting yourself, or, sit down and I'll take care of dinner. You just got out of the hospital. Nothing. I'm worried about my future. Is this a picture of what my life may be like in the future? Cancer is rampant in both sides of my family, all kinds, so I guess that means I'll be doing chemo alone, and probably going to die alone in a hospital bed at some point. I'm trying to move forward, but I also feel some resentment towards him, whatever happened to, in sickness and in health. I can't help but feel let down by him. I was all alone in a scary place, not knowing what was wrong or what was going to happen to me, and he couldn't be bothered to come sit with me, keep me company, help stop my freakouts or support me. Not once did he tell me, "It's okay, you'll be okay, we'll get through this." Instead it seemed like it was all about his frustrations and feelings. So now I'm conflicted. Maybe I was being selfish. It's not like he could actually do anything to help me there and he was with our son. But where do you draw the line between selfishness and need for help? Aita for wanting my husband to be more supportive during my time in the hospital. TLDR, my husband left me alone at the hospital when I had internal bleeding and may have needed surgery. Update, wow. I really didn't think I'd get more than a couple comments, but I really appreciate everyone who took the time to comment. I'm going to try to reply to comments tomorrow, because I admit I was overwhelmed by the amount of responses and I was also trying to work at the same time. I really appreciate all the feedback, even those who called me MAH, because many of you were right. I should have been more clear about my needs and feelings. Shout out to Thestral Breeder for helping with verbiage to use when I talk with my husband. I've worked call centers all my life and know the difference between I statements and you statements, but in the moment in personal life, it's hard. Edit to clarify a few points that keep coming up. 1. I saw the surgeon Friday afternoon, and he restricted my food drink starting at midnight day night and lasting until I got my second CT scan the next day, around mid-morning, to confirm my hematoma wasn't seeping or getting bigger. 2. No, I didn't specifically ask him to stay, and yes, that's my bad. I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't want to deal with him rolling his eyes at me and saying, fine, I guess I'll stay, in an irritated and put out tone. Because then I wouldn't have wanted him to stay, he would just have had a negative attitude that I didn't want to deal with at the time. Yes, he's done this before with other things, just nothing as serious. 3. My daughter is 23, but has some development delays, and doesn't pick up on cues very well. I know I'm making some excuses for her, but she was the last one to see her grandpa in the hospital before he passed, and it really impacted her. Last year we lost my dad, my husband's stepdad, and her dog, who she loved and doted on like a kid. She's petrified of loss at this point and I am her rock. I also have to admit, I'm not used to leaning on my kids in any way. 4. My husband did not, nor has he ever hit me. I didn't fall, have an accident or have any physical trauma. I totally get why the doctors asked me about abuse, though I didn't realize until today that asking in front of the potential abuser was another tactic to find out the truth. I do get that. 5. Yes, this is a pattern. He repeatedly has stated his opinions as facts. He is not a very empathetic person, and we have been working on that. I try telling him that not everyone thinks or feels exactly like he does, and his opinion isn't fact or gospel truth. He also doesn't really believe in therapy or mental health issues. I have severe depression, general anxiety, and borderline OCD, according to my shrink. I'm not a doctor, and his reaction to me telling him I'm depressed was, well, I get sad sometimes too. 6. He loves his son. He and my daughter have a somewhat complicated relationship since they butt heads a lot, but he's been a way better father figure than my ex, so much more involved in her life and adopted her as an adult. Her bio dad wouldn't agree to the adoption prior, even though he wouldn't even talk to my daughter. 7. When I gave birth to our son, he was there while I was in labor, and there through the entire birth process. However, once we were out of the labor and delivery area and in a private room, he just assumed he would go back home and see me sometime the next day. I had to convince him to stay with my son and I for the next couple of days in the hospital. Update. For those interested enough to want to follow up, here goes, and please, if possible be kind, I've got a lot on my head right now. So I finally talked to my husband about my hospital stay and it didn't go well. Admittedly, I didn't pick the best time to talk and said things in anger. I wouldn't take back anything I said and I wasn't mean or cruel in how I delivered it, but I wish I had picked a better time so that he was in a better mindset to receive the info. We were talking about an upcoming medical appointment for my daughter, and I said that we'd be leaving at X time the next day. His response, "You're taking her. Don't you have to work?" Yes. Yes, I do, so I'm going to have to call in absent because she is getting meds that won't allow her to drive home and this is a traumatic experience, so she needs support. We already asked her bestie and her grandma, both have uncancelable things going on. Him, well, I can take her. Me, really? It could take all day, you're cool with that? Him, ranting for a while about how she can just get dropped off, she's an adult and it's her problem. Me, again, I am totally admitting this was not the best way to bring to these topics, yes, because not only will she need a ride home, but she needs the support. Like I needed support in the hospital. But you weren't there. I had to do it alone. Him, what was I supposed to do? Just a sit there. Me, no, you could have reassured me, you could have held my hand so I wasn't freaking out so much, or just talked to me so my thoughts didn't spiral. What if I had bled out and they needed consent to operate? You weren't there to give it. Instead you were there 20, 30 minutes at most and pissed every visit. Some people need emotional support. Him, scoffs. Me, well, at least I know what to expect for the future. I'll be going to chemo appointments alone, sitting in my hospital bed nursing home, alone and dying alone. Because being there for me or anyone inconveniences you. Him, a bunch of childish BS, okays, and whatevers. Then proceeds to act like nothing happened and immediately fall asleep, even though I have visibly red puffy eyes from crying. Unfortunately, divorce isn't really an option for me financially or logistically. I can't uproot my kids. Yes, my daughter is 23, but with her current job and housing costs in my area, there's no way she can afford her own place, and my son has great connections in our neighborhood. My only viable plan to go to would be to move to the other side of the country because that's where my only support is. I'd have to quit my job, pull my kid out of school and move, if courts would even allow it. So until my son reaches an appropriate age, I'm staying with the expectation that I don't have a husband, I have a roommate with occasional benefits. I'm changing my will and my POA to my sister, but that's the most I can do at this time. For additional clarity, my mom passed when I was 16, and dad passed last January, though we weren't close at the time. For my biological family, I talked to one sister and my paternal aunt. Otherwise, I'm an orphan. I'm fairly close with my MIL, enough to the point where she commiserates with me about my husband's behavior. He's a lot like his dad, who she divorced years ago. Lastly, for anyone who wanted a medical update, I've got an appointment with the hematologist-oncologist coming up, but it'll be a while. The worst of my bruises are finally fading and the rest are gone completely. I'm feeling better every day, but if I move too fast and or clench my abdominal muscles, I get a nasty pinch. I keep forgetting to take it easy with lifting and bending, but it's not bad, mild enough that an ice pack and a couple ibuprofen take care of the worst of it. Luckily, my job has been amazing and letting me work from home even on in-office days. They really have been super caring and supportive. So again, thank you to everyone who commented or DM'd me. It really helped me to see past my husband's callous reaction and that it wasn't an unreasonable request to ask him to stay with me. It's been an eye-opening experience, and honestly I'm really sad that after all these years, I can't count on my partner. TLDR, I talked with my husband about his lack of support and caring during my hospital stay. He got mad and then ignored the whole convo, as though it never happened. Stories number 2. Am I wrong for refusing to cut my son's hair for my BL's wedding? I honestly feel like I'm losing my mind. My 26F and my husband 28M have been going back and forth with my BL, M29, and his fiancée, 29F. Recently, my BL, we'll call him Mike, proposed to his girlfriend, Lacey. Mike asked my husband to be his best man, which he accepted. He also asked if my son, who is 1 year old, to be one of their ring bearers. My husband and I discussed and agreed to him being the ring bearer. Everything was fine until a few weeks ago. Mike called my husband and asked him if we would be getting my son's hair cut for their wedding, which is this August. My husband said no, as his hair is not unruly and we are waiting to get his first haircut. His hair is curly and covers his forehead, but it isn't excessively long and we keep it clean and brushed, if that matters. Mike hung up and we thought that was the end of it. We even laughed at the silliness of the request. 1 week later, Mike calls again and says that Lacey is insisting that we get his haircut. Again, their wedding is over 4 months away. We again said no, that we were going to wait until my son gets older. We said that unless it starts to bother my son or it gets hard to manage, we were not going to get it cut. We assured him that it would be clean and look good if they were worried about the pictures. Mike got upset and I asked if I could call Lacey to talk through any concerns she may have with the hair. He got even more upset and said that I had to ask him before I talked with Lacey about anything. Then he and Lacey, would discuss if it was okay for me to talk to her or not. I was flabbergasted at this comment. Why would I need to ask permission to talk to my soon-to-be SIL, and why is my son's hair such a big deal? For some necessary background, I don't dislike Lacey. She is very naive and I feel as though Mike pushes her around and blames things on her. She goes along with it because she wants to be married. When they were visiting for a few days a few months before he proposed, I asked if Mike was her first boyfriend, which he was, and I told her that I was always there if she ever wanted to talk or had any questions. I know that I am younger, but I have, unfortunately, a lot more experience with relationships and have been married for 3 years. She was very appreciative and thanked me. After that, though, Mike got upset and said I needed to tell him what I was going to talk to her about before I talked to her. He also didn't like that he wasn't around when I talked to her. I guess I just need advice on if it is reasonable for them to ask us to cut our son's hair for their wedding. I have no idea if Lacey is asking to cut my son's hair, or if Mike is. I also have no idea if Lacey is even aware that Mike asked this. Also, should I do anything about the whole situation about needing permission to talk to Lacey? My husband is completely on my side and is willing to pull my son out of the wedding and himself if that is what I want to do. I don't want to create drama, but I am honestly shocked at this. My MIL, who has always been very reasonable and welcoming to me, doesn't want to get in the middle because she is afraid if she does that Mike will not come to see her. Any advice or thoughts is helpful. My husband and I have already tried talking to Mike about concerns before he proposed, but nothing has come from it. Mike lives 2.5 hours away, so it is not like we can just go there. Stories number 3. Aita for refusing to close our marriage for the sake of our children. I, 27M, would say I'm a bit of an awkward guy. I think my outward appearance can be deceiving on that front. I do well in situations where there are well-established rules, like in work and business-related interactions. When it comes to romance, I feel like I fall a little flat. I talk too long about things someone might not care about on first meeting, I ask too many questions, etc. My wife, 28F, has been interested in opening up our relationship for a while. I was never against the idea, but she continually said she wanted me to try looking as well. I was happy just letting her have her own fun, but she said she only wanted to open things up if I was going out and meeting people, too, and I did. Meet someone, that is. He, 31M, is so, everything. He's witty and so smart. He's got this biting sense of humor that I'm genuinely obsessed with. He's quiet and deliberate with his actions, and I'm just really overjoyed with the fact that I finally feel understood by someone. He seems to actually enjoy sex with me, sex in new, inventive ways that I didn't even consider a possibility 6 months ago, but more than that, he seems to actually enjoy being with me. Getting to know me as a person. My wife was having fun. I've gotten a lot of fulfillment out of this and gained a lot of confidence. That's why it was such a shock to me when she came to me and said she wanted to close our marriage again. She said this was a temporary arrangement and she wanted to get serious about having children soon. Every time I think about agreeing to that, it feels like I'm losing something really important. Like, I'm shutting down this significant piece of myself. I eventually told her no, I'm not interested in closing our relationship. Now, she's accusing me of being selfish and not caring about our future children. Aita. Relevant comments. Did you know he was attracted to men? Reply. I knew I was attracted to men prior to this, but it wasn't something I entertained as a real possibility. And then when I started entertaining it, I always saw myself in a different position than the one I'm in now, if that makes sense. I had some preconceived notions that you can't be masculine and bottom, or that you can't be masculine and be taken care of, be the little spoon. I have been proven wrong on many such occasions. Commenter 1, what I took away from this is that you don't feel understood by even your wife. And she doesn't like to have sex with you. Pending further information, I would say you guys are not meant for each other. Don't bring kids into. Amicably separating before having kids is the kindest thing for both of you. Reply, I don't necessarily think my wife doesn't enjoy sex with me, but I don't come away from it feeling particularly good about myself. So it's not like I'm being berated or told I'm not doing things right, but I'm also not getting much verbal feedback at all. On the other hand, sex with him makes me feel confident. I feel a new appreciation for my body afterwards. Not sure if that's totally bizarre, He verbalizes a lot more than she does. And then this is where I feel weird all over again because comparing the two of them feels wrong and disrespectful. Commenter 2, does it feel wrong because it's disrespectful, or because you feel like you should feel one way, and you don't? It seems to me that you may be feeling like your man is your man, but that you made a promise to your wife and you have to keep that even though she's becoming less and less your woman. People change, and that's okay. Even if you were 100% in agreement with having an open relationship, things changed between the two of you when it started. To me, your words for your man drip with love and appreciation, but you only seem to have friendly affection for your wife. That's just what I'm reading, I'm not trying to say that's how you feel. Just what I see. Reply, I'm not a jealous person at all. I would never have agreed to this arrangement if I was. That being said, there are times when I'm like damn. I would very much like to make some sort of show of commitment to him that says, this is mine, do not approach to everyone else. Which makes me feel a little crazy, to be honest. Is OOP's guy interested in having a relationship with him? Reply, we've never specifically talked about that. I've been reluctant to. It's nerve-wracking. We have had conversations about how crazy it is that things fell into place when we met. Like whoa, suddenly you're one of the most important people in my life. Suddenly I have clothes and a toothbrush in your apartment and I'm snoozing my alarm to stay in bed with you for a little longer. I've never been that type of person. Life is weird. Update 1. The last few days have been really emotionally exhausting. The first question I had to sit with was not whether I'd be happier in a relationship with my new partner. It was, would I be happier without my wife? I never wanted to go into this conversation with him feeling like this was a one or the other situation. Talking to him without a decision made would feel disingenuous. It would be a dick move to everyone involved, like if he said no then I had my wife waiting in the wings. To me, that says neither relationship really mattered to me, I just want to be with someone. In my mind, there were only two options for how things would go when we spoke. I would either be ending things with him for my marriage or I would be ending things with my wife. There was no taking a leap of faith and then crawling back to her with my tail between my legs. The conclusion I came to is that I'm just not fulfilled in my marriage. I'm also having these complicated feelings, kind of cycling through anger at her opening our marriage at all and pulling me out of my comfort zone, while also feeling so grateful for what it's taught me. A common theme in the comments on my last post was, once the door has been opened, it can't be closed. And that's true. I can't go back to not knowing how it felt to be understood and listened to. I can't unknown this feeling of trust. So I told her that I'm unhappy and that I'm going to be looking into separation options. I had a conversation with my guy, and it went really well. I was just open and honest with him about how I feel. That he gives me things I've never had, and never knew I could have. He said some really sweet things that are just for me and not for the internet. There's no well-rounded end to this story yet. I have a lot more conversations to have. There's also so much more I want to say, so many emotions that I'd like to get down into words, but this is already very long. I just wanted to come on and give a little update for those of you who were wondering. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, thanks for the update. I'm glad you took time to reflect, and I'm glad you're not going to close up the marriage and simply be unhappy for the rest of your life. What was your wife's reaction? I always wonder what the partner who asks for this really thinks the outcome will be when it seemed clear from the outside it's always a selfish, I want more attention from other people, that turns into, wait, I'm jealous my partner is getting fulfillment from someone besides me. Reply, it wasn't a positive reaction. Lots of talking about how I made a commitment to her, and that I was throwing that away for someone else. I just kept reiterating that it wasn't about him, it was about me. How I feel and how she makes me feel. That still hasn't gotten through to her. Commenter 2, glad to read you're prioritizing your own feelings and wants. Even gladder to read you're planning a lot of conversations. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you as you navigate this new chapter. Reply, thank you. The conversations I've already had feel like perfect encapsulations of both relationships. One made me feel validated and understood, the other made me feel like she was hell-bent on misinterpreting what I was saying. I just feel safe with him. OOP responds to a comment on him should have discussed feelings with his wife when she asked to open the relationship and his confidence with the whole thing. Reply, I've never encouraged anyone to attack her. I've answered people's questions about my dynamic with her versus my other partner. I came here looking for advice, but mostly this has been helpful in forcing me to verbalize my thoughts. It's forced me to give words to all the things I've been feeling for a while. I also think I don't agree with a lot of the blimmerance, infatuation crowd. I'm not a relationship hopper. I also don't consider myself polyandrous. I said this in another comment on my original post. It's a concept I was participating in, not something I see as part of my identity. This is not me getting swept away in some passing fling. It's me realizing I wasn't getting what I needed and that I like this confident version of myself more, a version that my wife seems to dislike. This is about me, not about him. That's something I've tried to explain to my wife, as well. Update 2, I feel like this is more of a plea for advice than an actual update. I'm really trying to focus on myself. I'm still having conversations about divorce with my wife. I'm actively speaking to lawyers to start that process. She moved out 6 days ago. I have a lot I need to sort out before I jump into anything else properly. That's the responsible thing to do, but man, is it hard not to be level-headed and responsible right now. I think there was a mental barrier up before. I was giving my guy so much of myself, but I was still holding back some because I have a wife. I obviously couldn't go spend weeks at a time at his place because I had someone expecting me at home. But now it's like a dam broke and I've never felt like this before. He is very much meeting me where I'm at. We've had open and honest conversations about where things are going and we're on the same page. I'm just having trouble not getting ahead of myself in my head, I think. And I meant what I said in other comments. I'm not a relationship hopper. I'm not someone who gets caught up in excitement. I'm a pretty slow pace, logical kind of guy. I really want to get comfortable being by myself. That doesn't mean I'm ending things with him, not at all. It means I want to have a normal dating period, one where I'm not in some weird poly situation. But in my opinion, normal dating is a lot less intense than, oh, this is what being in love actually feels like and I want to build a life with you ASAP. Normal dating is not equal to the feelings I'm having. I need to get a grip, is the point. Any ideas on how I do that? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if he really is the one, then he should be understanding of the fact that you're still working through not just the divorce but also the feelings you're going through while detaching yourself from the life that you and your STBX were building together. Just because the relationship ended up going sideways and you're confident in your path forward, that doesn't magically make what you're going through any easier. You said it yourself, take your time, figure out who you are post-divorce, and the two of you can ease your way into this new relationship. Reply, he's being really understanding. This is more just me wrestling with the knowledge that I need to take things slow versus not really wanting to. I'm usually fine on my own. And I am fine, but I feel this pull towards him that I've never experienced in any other relationship. It's this nagging feeling in the back of my head where even if I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I know I would enjoy doing it with him even more. I don't know. I didn't expect my feelings for him to change as a result of my marriage ending. This is new for me. Commenter 2, communication. It's the number one thing you can do. However, I also feel like you are way too hard on yourself. There is no set time you need to wait to have feelings or give your all to a relationship. Your marriage was not the best, and it's normal that you emotionally checked out of it a long time ago. Reply, I appreciate this. Being with him has helped me learn a lot about how much I value communication, and how good it feels. I felt like there was so much guesswork in my marriage. Looking back, I always felt like I was scrambling to sort through, like, social cues, facial expressions, size to figure out what she wanted from me, and I wasn't innocent in it either because I followed her lead in that regard. So being with him, where he talks so freely, it's so refreshing. It makes my brain feel so good, It feels so easy. I always felt like I said too much, but now I'm just confused why everyone doesn't talk like this. Commenter 3, talk to him. Say all this to him and see if he has any ideas. Communication. Best of luck. Reply, I'm nervous because some of what I want to say feel like very inside thoughts. Some of it is very conflicting, too. It's like, oh, I'm just thinking about peaceful married life with him because that's what's in my comfort zone, versus, but my marriage wasn't very comfortable or peaceful. I'm being very honest with him while also trying to sort out some of the push and pull. But you're right, I don't think he'd be upset at me for any of it. He'd probably say something very wise and insightful, and help me figure it out. Commenter 4, honestly, I think you need to speak to a therapist. An unrelated, unbiased third party. As much as your new guy is great at communicating and meeting you where you're at, it doesn't change the fact he has a vested interest in the outcome. You need to figure out if these feelings you have for him are genuinely for him or if they are related to discovering a new side of yourself you never knew existed. Talking to someone impartial who has the skills and tools to help you navigate this new direction in your life is imperative. Just my 2 cents. Stories number 4. Aita for telling my sister-in-law to get out of my daughter's baby shower. I, 47F, have a daughter, 25. She is currently 26 weeks pregnant with her second child, a girl. Her first child, Philip, was stillborn 2 years ago at 38 weeks, a little boy. When she lost him, she asked us to take apart the nursery before she got home and get rid of the baby equipment. She saved his baby book, his ultrasound photos, and the outfit she planned to bring him home in, along with a lock of his hair in a memory box. She'd had a baby shower for Philip when she was pregnant, but her grief around his death was so strong that she couldn't handle having the nursery and baby things. We offered to return the baby shower gifts to the givers, most kindly refused and asked us to donate the items, except my husband's sister, Rachel, 43. She made a huge deal out of my daughter being hysterical and constantly, loudly talked about how ridiculous it was to take apart the nursery. We kept her away from my daughter and only allowed her to return to family functions when she promised to stop bringing it up. We recently held a baby shower for my daughter's new baby girl. Rachel, along with the rest of my husband's female relatives, was invited. She kept making quiet remarks to everyone that we were tacky for having a baby shower for a second child, but since she didn't get near my daughter, I ignored it. When my daughter began opening gifts, it hit the fan. She loudly said, if you hadn't torn Philip's nursery apart and gotten rid of everything, you wouldn't be here begging for presents for this baby. My daughter froze and just stared off into space. Tears started running down her face. I just said, Rachel, please leave. She refused and started arguing with me. I took her present out of the pile, walked to the door, and threw it out. I yelled, get out, now, and my husband came into the room and asked what happened. His mom told him and he physically picked up his sister and put her down outside the door. Now the family is divided over whether I should have yelled at her to get out and thrown her present. Aita. Update. We are having a family meeting, without Rachel, while my daughters and their partners are away at Hot Springs this weekend. We'll update again after the meeting. Sum of comments. Top commenter, NTA if anything, you were overly generous by trying to ignore her cruel, thoughtless remarks prior to the final horrific outburst. Your daughter's welfare was your priority and must remain so. I can't imagine how heartbreaking the loss of her baby was, and to remind it of that so callously is unbelievable. Your SAL took a joyous occasion, one full of hope and promise, and poured acid all over it. You and your husband both should be commended for your restraint. I hope your daughter enjoys a healthy pregnancy and that your granddaughter brings you all much joy. Reply, thank you. Your kindness is so appreciated. To a now deleted comment asking about why OOP would be the AH. Because after I politely asked her to leave, and she refused. I screamed at her to get out and threw the present she had brought out the front door. It was when my husband heard that commotion that he came in the room. Some of his family thinks I shouldn't have screamed at her and thrown her present. Family meeting. Agreed. We are having a family meeting without Rachel this weekend to discuss how to move forward. Both of my daughters and their partners will be in Hot Springs for the weekend, taking a little mini vacation, so my daughter won't have to be present for any drama. Other than Rachel, the rest of the family have always adored my daughters. In fact, Philip was named after my husband's dad, whom my girls call Grampy. They call his mom Gigi. We have high hopes for the family meeting. Commenter, info, why was Rachel even invited after the way she talked about your daughter's behavior when she was grieving? Reply, the family agreed to keep her away from my daughter until she apologized and agreed to stop talking about it. She did so a few months after Philip's death, and had been invited to several events since without bringing it up. Commenter, if the family agreed, then why is the family divided now? Your actions were too mild. Why invite her to your daughter's baby shower and also keep ignoring her minor remarks? Reply, she was talking to other people about how tacky the baby shower was, but was avoiding going near my daughter. Everyone she was talking to was shutting her down, so I let it be. I realize now that was a mistake. I wish I had asked her to leave at the first comment. Commenter, NTA. Honestly, if she had done and said that in front of my daughter, I'd have picked her up myself and tossed her ass in the street and probably would have punched her a few times. Also, she's a wretched person. I'd cut all contact with her. Reply, we are all, both of my daughters, their partners, and my husband and me, going no contact with my husband support his mom is sad, because it means she won't get to see us all together anymore, and the rest of the family is upset because we won't attend gatherings that include her. But I'm going to do what's best for my girls and their kids. My older daughter is so angry, she was sick and couldn't attend. She and her boyfriend are taking my pregnant daughter and her husband up to Hot Springs for the weekend to relax. Commenter, what is this woman's problem? Why was she so outraged by dismantling the nursery and returning the gifts in the first place? Has she always been such a B***TCH? The remark about begging for more gifts sure says this is about more than the nursery and gifts. Is she jealous of your daughter? Reply, Rachel is infertile and cannot have never had children. My daughters were already tween teenagers, 11 and 13, when my husband and I married, and he has no biological children of his own, though he's been a wonderful stepdad. She's never liked it that the only kids her brother got were another man's. I've robbed her parents of having real grandchildren, blah, blah. To another commenter, everyone tiptoed around Rachel for years because of her fertility struggles. She never had children and 2 husbands left her to start families. I'm truly sorry for that for her. But she went too far this time. On whether her husbands really left her to start families or if it was something else. The story I've been told is that when she had several miscarriages in a row, and was told it would be very difficult to carry a pregnancy to term, her first husband left. Her second husband left after another round of miscarriages led to a hysterectomy. I don't know if she'd told him. Current pregnancy. I don't want to go into too much medical detail, because it's my daughter's story to tell if she would like to, but our granddaughter does not have the medical issue that our stillborn grandson had, and the pregnancy is healthy and thriving. I know she's still terrified despite knowing this, and she is in therapy. That's one of the reasons I'm so furious with Rachel. It's like with one sick comment, she undid months of progress. We will never see Rachel again. My husband was the first to suggest it. The shower itself. She didn't want to refuse to celebrate this baby because of Philip's loss. We were careful to check in with her in every planning stage to make sure she was still okay, and we all reassured her that if she wanted to cancel, even at last minute, no one would be mad at her. Her sister even practiced a backup hostess speech to give if she did cancel too close to the start, or after. My husband's aunt and I were going to take my pregnant daughter out for lunch and let her sister explain and host if that happened. Update 2, the meeting went well. My husband and I gave a brief summary of what happened, backed up by witnesses. The relatives that couldn't make the shower are now aware of what happened. The family consensus is that Rachel is unequivocally to blame and should not be allowed to be around my daughters or their kids. Other people in the family brought up issues they've had with her in the past along similar lines, especially involving pregnancy and kids. Rachel will no longer be included in large family gatherings. Those who want to continue a relationship with her will do so on their own, and have been informed that advocating for Rachel to be forgiven and included or feeding her information about me, my husband, or our kids and grandchildren will result in us going no contact with them as well. My mother-in-law has apologized profusely for making the remarks about being sad that she won't have both of her children under her roof for the holidays anymore. We have accepted her apology because her feelings are valid and this is sad for her. Thank you so much for all your support. I will update when my granddaughter is born, if y'all would like. Sum of comments. OOP adds. We found out this morning from a cousin that apparently Rachel also criticized us for having a funeral and burial for Philip, because it wasn't like anyone actually got to bond with him. We never knew that, or she would have never been allowed to apologize and come near our little part of the family again. She showed us the texts. Rachel can't deny it. Commenter. OMG, I love your husband. This made me cry that your family could be reasonable and rally around your daughter. Reply. I think it helped that almost everyone in the extended family with kids had a cousin Rachel horror story. The meeting. It's not really a consultation, more of a this is what happened at the shower for the family that wasn't there, mostly the men and few ladies who had to work, and an info session on what we've decided. Editor's note, marked as concluded because OOP and family decided to cut off Rachel and were able to explain everything. However, we probably won't ever know when the baby is born due to OOP deleting her account. Stories number 5. Aita for being more excited about my mom's pregnancy than my stepmom's. I, 16F, have divorced parents. They divorced when I was 10 years old after my dad cheated. The court gave my parents 50-50 custody. My dad, 48, quickly married his mistress Molly, 36, fake name, and he also adopted Molly's 2 other kids, Grace, 10, and Oliver, 7, both fake names. I didn't find out about my dad's cheating until I was 13 and my uncle, on my mom's side, let it slip while drunk during a family gathering. When I confronted my dad he tried denying it but the stuttering and the red face gave it away. After that I lost all respect for my dad and Molly. I don't like Molly. She split up my family and keeps trying to force a relationship between us, even introducing me to her friends as her daughter or her special daughter. I've asked her to stop but she won't. She even tries calling me about random things when I'm at my mom's house. I used to pick up but now I just ignore them. I don't see her as a mother figure and I never will. My mom, 39, took the divorce hard, but slowly started rebuilding her life and 2 years ago she met Greg, 49. Greg is the greatest. He and I get on very well and we have the same interests. He also doesn't try to force a relationship between us and gives me all the space I need. Recently my dad and Molly sat me, Grace and Oliver down to announce that Molly was pregnant. Grace and Oliver were ecstatic and I congratulated them but wasn't jumping up and down as much as Grace and Oliver. Something about her being the one to have my half-sibling is just wrong. The woman who split up a family is now starting her own with my dad. Well, not long after my mom came to me and told me she and Greg were expecting as well. Of course I was more excited for this since my mom is like my best friend, Greg and I have a fantastic relationship and I know that they'd be great parents. I guess Molly realized I was quite happy about something and asked what. Here's where I might be the asshole. Instead of just saying my mom was pregnant, I kind of went on a rant about how excited I was and how I can't wait to meet the baby and how I wanted to plan a huge baby shower etc. Molly nodded along and didn't say much else. I didn't think much of it until my dad came into my room that night and sat on my bed. He says Molly's feelings were really hurt that I didn't show the same excitement for her pregnancy than I did for my mom's and that I shouldn't feel any different towards her because they are both carrying my half-siblings and that I needed to apologize to her and fix my attitude. I listened to him but the more he talked the more angry I got. I told him that if she wasn't a home wrecker then I'd be more happy and they shouldn't expect the same treatment from me that I give my mom because I have little respect for them and their blended family they forced down my throat. My dad went off at me, saying what he and my mom went through was none of my business and if I wasn't such a brat then I'd realize that him and Molly are trying their hardest to get through to me and have a relationship. He said I was 16 and needed to stop acting so juvenile etc. He then took my phone, I'm typing this on my laptop, grounded me and left without another word, refusing to hear me out. It's only Tuesday and I still have a whole week until next Monday with them. Tensions are high but honestly I don't feel like apologizing or starting to act different around Molly. However I know that he's my dad and I probably shouldn't have called her a home wrecker and she's pregnant but I just don't know what to do, so like AITA, should I apologize and move on? Stories number 6. Knocking up and marrying my Japanese wife without getting permission from her father. I met the love of my life in Japan and she is honestly the perfect wife in every single way a man can ever even dream of, like literally. We met at a bar and 3 years later, we had 2 kids and finally got married. I was stationed here, by the way. It came time to leave Japan and she really encouraged me to meet her father because since our first child, he disowned me because I didn't do things the traditional way and every time I tried talking to him, he told me to leave him alone. Understandably, I have a girl of my own and I understand. I ultimately had to do something called a dajiza. I had to go buy a $3,000 kimono and perform this apology in front of her whole family. Dajiza is an element of traditional Japanese etiquette which involves kneeling directly on the ground and bowing to prostrate oneself while touching one's head to the floor. 1, 2, 3 It is used to show deference to a person of higher status, as a deep apology or to express the desire for a favor from said person. Doing this, I risked the marriage of my wife if her father did not accept my apology. After my apology, and memorizing an entire apology letter my wife wrote me, this letter was 3 pages long. He gave me the choice to marry her the traditional way, which is called a Shinto marriage, and go on a week-long fishing trip with just him and I, literally. The most awesome terrifying fishing trip I've ever been on, to learn more about who I am and see if I'm suitable for his daughter. We first went on the fishing trip and the first 3 days were insane. He had me talk about myself all day and I felt like he wasn't even paying attention, as if he were bored of me or just didn't care to get to know me. At this point I knew he wasn't going to give me his blessing, until he finally started opening up and telling me that I was raising the boys right and that I took good care of them and his daughter. The 5th day came and the second we stepped on the fishing boat all the way until the moonlight came out and shined all over the ocean. We talked about WW1 and WW2. I asked some pretty personal questions about the Japanese soldiers at those times and he asked me the same questions. It was such an awesome moment where I realized he has respect for me. During the drive home he cried to me and explained to me how the whole situation hurt him and how he wished I would have came to him and asked him sooner due to this situation having an effect on his relationship with my wife. Again, I apologized and told him how I always encouraged her to talk to him and not be mad at him since it was my fault that I didn't communicate and didn't consider her culture. We had dinner at a fancy bar and told me and my wife that he approved of our marriage and to took care of her and the boys. We had our Shinto-style wedding in Nagasaki and it was absolutely the most beautiful wedding I've ever experienced. Gentlemen, don't take shortcuts and do things the right way, especially if you're marrying a woman anywhere overseas because her family becomes your family. For the record, since everyone is asking in the comments, I'm Mexican American. Stories number 7. Lying to my wife and daughters about flowers. Married 20 years, 2 kids 7 and 2. Early in my relationship my wife, then GF, would ask for flowers or things like that. For whatever reason women want things like that from their BF. Me, being a broke college kid that came from near poverty, I had a hard time spending money on something that wouldn't last, so we fought over it until a balance was reached. I would buy flowers for her. When we got married, for the first year I would buy her a small gift every month on the 10th, our anniversary is June 10th. It was a way to tell her how much I loved her, especially since that first year was so very hard for us. I got used to buying flowers or other little trinkets. Some were dumb, some she still has. Even now, if I give her something for no reason, I try to do it on the 10th. Well, fast forward some years and I give my then 3-year-old flowers and she now thinks any I bring in are for her. Now here's my problem. I brought some flowers home last weekend when I went grocery shopping. If anyone can tell me why grocery store flowers last longer than the ones from a specialty florist, I would be grateful. My wife immediately said thank you for my flowers. It was the 7th. The girls, when they saw them, thought the flowers were for them. Truth is, over all this time, I have started really liking having the splash of color in the house. I really bought them for myself, and even if neither my wife nor my daughters were around, I would still buy myself flowers. Anyway, am I wrong for not coming clean about why I buy the flowers? Relevant comments. What are the favorite flowers in the family? Reply, I love Gerber daisies and lilies. Don't really like roses and neither does my wife. The 2-year-old however seems to really like pink roses. Commenter 1, you are entitled to have your own motivations. What matters is your actions and your actions make your family happy. Commenter 2, I think one day you should buy some flowers, and divide them up between everyone. Maybe wait until your daughter is a little older. I think there are some really important life lessons in your story for your daughter to learn. Your daughter can learn the importance of budgeting and how when you don't have a lot, you need to spend on what's important. Your daughter can also learn that men can like flowers. Commenter 3, the only advice I can give you is that if you have the space and like the colorful ambience that flowers give, buy potted flowers. Learn how to care for them, make it a family activity and enjoy each other company while doing it. Update. Probably could have added this to the other post, but didn't try. Lying to my wife and daughters about flowers. Y'all. She found the post. Well, she didn't find it, her friend did. I put a little too much personal info in it and a friend we've had since college figured it out and showed wifey. So hi, Becca. Thanks for ratting me out. She was not amused that I told complete strangers about us, but at the same time found the whole thing hilarious. Weird, right? Anyway, after she could get her laughter under control, she admitted that she knows. She has always known. Wifey told me that around our 3rd year of marriage, she realized that she likes the knickknacks, that I would get her more than the flowers, but realized that I like them, so has just gone along with it cause it made me happy. I really love this woman. Also, for all those that said I'm doing a horrible job raising my kid, that she's spoiled or going to turn out rotten or something. Stop it, get some help. I would put in a link to the meme, but I don't want to. And for those that complain that this was pointless or unnecessary or whatever. You're right, it was. I literally put that the whole thing is stupid in the first sentence. But there is a lot of bad going on in the news right now, and many people on this sub spend a lot of time doom scrolling or train wreck watching, and I just wanted to put into the world something innocent and nice and maybe not so dark. Am I wrong about that? Top comments. Commenter 1, I'm glad all of you can enjoy the flowers. Commenter 2, this is so sweet and wholesome. And I absolutely agree about grocery store flowers. Commenter 3, wifey told me that around our 3rd year of marriage, she realized that she likes the knickknacks, that I would get her more than the flowers, but realized that I like them, so has just gone along with it cause it made me happy. When I read your original post, this is what I thought was going on. I love it. You guys are so sweet. Stories number 8. Aita for not letting my in-laws use my son's SSN to continue getting food from food banks. My husband, 30M, and I, 31F, recently received a phone call from my father-in-law, 54M. Apparently for some time they have been going to food banks to help out since my mother-in-law, 53F, won't work since getting diagnosed with COPD. They have been telling the food banks that they have been taking care of their grandson, my son. The food bank has allowed giving them food but just recently asked them for my son's SSN so that they can continue getting food from them. My in-laws have not been taking care of my son because we live over 500 miles away from them. We were shocked by them asking for our son's SSN because obviously the answer is no. My husband texted them back telling them no, it's not gonna happen, and they have yet to even respond. Am I the asshole for wanting to take this further and report them to this food bank for fraud and identity theft? Sum of comments. Commenter, I've never heard of food banks demanding a social security number. There is another reason they want the number. Either they are planning to file a fraudulent tax return and claim your son, or they plan to open some sort of credit using his SS number. Freeze your credit and get pins for you and your child from the IRS. Reply, we are currently trying to do this. My husband's W-2 for taxes was mailed to their place, and after this conversation and them fighting us to even have them mail us his W-2 has me worried for his credit. They have done some messed up things in Helet, but this by far is the worst. Commenter, I've been asked for my address and stuff before but never my SSN. Given, I've only been to 2 different ones. So my experience is extremely limited. There's one place I go to where they only ask for your name and how many in your family. I like that one just because they treat me like a person and they're always so nice, so that's where I usually go. Reply, there are a few in the area that ask for SSN because I think they get support through other companies, I'm not sure. But I think they may just be asking them because he's not their actual child, maybe, I'm not sure. We are contacting the local food banks and informing them of the situation. Commenter, no, you shouldn't give them your son's SSN, and that would be the end of that. Without that they can no longer go to that food bank. I wouldn't try to get them put in prison. Perhaps your husband can speak to his parents about their food insecurity. Reply, we are just going to contact the food banks and let them know the situation. My husband and I have tried talking to them about their money management, and it ends up in my mother-in-law storming off and not talking to us. It's hard to have these types of conversations with them. Commenter, sounds to me like they want the SSN for tax purposes of some kind. Like credits for low-income household and thus earning them a nice refund. Be careful. Reply, they already live in a low-income household where everything is paid. We've tried talking to them about money management, but my mother-in-law always storms off and refuses to talk once we voice our opinions and offer other solutions and programs this could help them. Update, we have found the food bank and they do not take SSN, so we have locked and checked everything to make sure our son's identity is safe and ours as well. No SSN was given to them because we know better than to jeopardize our identity and our son's identity. We are going to confront them about what we have found and see if they will give us the truth so we can see where we need to go from here. Thank you all for your advice, even the negative feedback, it has helped us find a conclusion to this crazy mess. Final update. So we have yet to get a response about the situation, but I explained what happened to my best friend and she agreed it was shady. We were thinking they were on drugs since this was such a shady situation. Some digging happened and some information was exchanged leaving names and how the exchange happened out. Turns out that Mael was going to start work again but then they got food stamps so she stopped trying to get a job. But the food stamps got denied so they were trying to get back on by trying to get approved once again. We put the dots together and found out they were going to try and use my son so they can get food stamps. It would be a different story if they were actually taking care of my son, which they are not. I am half tempted to bring this information to my in-laws and let them know that I know why they were trying to get my son's SSN and that they have been caught in a major lie and will probably never receive any more help from us. We did not report them because nothing happened. Other members of the family are okay and safe from this happening to them. We will probably never get a response back from them about this situation but they will most likely be asking for help soon enough, which my husband and I agreed that we are no longer helping in any way. Thank you all for your comments. This will be the last of this post. Stories number 9. Do I invite my kid's stepmom to sit in the hospital waiting room? Today, my kid, 5, is having adenoid surgery, so no big deal but given their age, I'm super anxious. My ex-husband cannot make it, and to be honest I don't really mind. I'm the type who wants to be left alone as I quietly freak out internally. The kid's, soon-to-be, stepmom texted me last night and said she has a care package for the kid. She wanted to know if she should drop it at my mom's house or if she could bring it to the hospital. I told her to text me when she's out and about and I'll let her know where we are. And now I'm torn. Do I invite her to sit with me? I like stepmom. I don't know her super well, but she definitely shows up for my kids, and she appears to be a great role model for them. Also, I'm a child of divorce, and I never want to act like my parents did. The thought of my mom sharing a waiting room with my father's wife is some straight Twilight Zone stuff in which I found out both women were replaced by robots. So I almost feel obligated. But again, I want to be by myself. I want to focus straight on the kid. I very much prefer to be alone so I don't have to make small talk or try to ease anyone else's anxiety. I want to just be in the moment, in my own head. And yes, selfishly, I don't want to share them when they wake up. Am I a jerk? Do I invite her? Or am I well within reason? Update, some of you said things I needed to hear. I texted her and invited her to be there for the pre-op to give kid a morale boost. I didn't ask if she wants to stay, but if she asks I'll say yes and let her know that I won't be great at conversation. I'm secretly hoping she won't want to, but that's my business and doesn't need to be put on either of them. The kid deserves all of the love and support. She hasn't answered yet, but I think this is the right move. Update, she is coming to pre-op. She was very thankful to be asked. And when I told kiddo, they got stars in their eyes and asked, I get mommy and stepmom. So thank you all, again, for helping me get over myself for the kid. Update 2, kiddo is in surgery, so I'm reading the comments. Geez guys, thank you so much for all the kind things you've said. I'm already emotional, and you guys are amazing. So stepmom came and met us outside to give kid a stuffy. I asked her if she wanted to come in while I registered the kid. She did. We have to wear name tags, visitor passes. I got one for stepmom. I told her I didn't know how long she wanted to stay but we needed them. Kiddo kept bouncing between us being their goofball self. I think kiddo needed the distraction of 2 people. When they took my kid back, stepmom gave them a kiss and then left. I'm glad I invited her. It was awkward. But awkwardness is the least of my concerns today. Again, thank you all so much for the encouragement, guidance, and kindness. Stories number 10. Transphobic player casts resurrection on me. So this happened over the weekend. I joined a group my friend was DMing. It was a high-level campaign as they were prepping to go fight the god of the hells in his homebrew setting. Their last player had personal matters that made them drop out of the campaign, so the DM invited me to take their place. Here's some important information. I am a trans woman and often play as trans or cis women characters. The party was all level 14 at this point. The party is as follows: a dwarf fighter, an elf wizard, a drow cleric, the problem player, and me, a trans mark of handling human ranger. Problems immediately started as when I joined the call, the cleric immediately said, "There he is," finally, despite me having she/they on my username. The DM corrected cleric and he apologized, so I let it slide. Maybe it was just a slip. Right? As the adventure continued, cleric kept avoiding interacting with me and kept interrupting during my turns to suggest better ways of using my abilities. He would casually drop slurs for disabled people, specifically calling me the R slur repeatedly. I am used to people like that though, so I just told him to stop and he toned it down a little. Eventually we came upon one of the demon god's generals and got into combat. Near the end my character failed all 3 death saving throws, thanks, Nat 1. The rest of the party barely scraped by and the cleric healed everyone up, then used a 7th level spell slot to cast resurrection on my character. I thanked him, but he ignored me and said to the DM, I look up his skirt. Did his dick grow back? Resurrection makes missing body parts come back. Everyone went silent and I left the call. The DM reached out to apologize on cleric's behalf, but I haven't responded to any messages from the group. I might just stop being DM's friend because he's clearly comfortable hanging around transposes and creeps. Comments. Commenter 1. What an unpleasant experience. I'm sorry you went through that. Sometimes people don't know their friends are creepy phobes until they activate in front of them. I had a decent friend, slightly right-leaning but nothing egregious. We had a trans person ask us for directions one day, and after they left he went on a transphobic tirade. It was a WTF moment. Where the hell has that been hiding? Like it came out of nowhere. I mulled it over and ended that friendship. You said you might end he friendship with the DM, which sounds like you're uncertain. You may want to check with that DM if he's still friends with the phobe before you decide. Reply. Thanks, that's a good idea. We've been friends since middle school and he's been nothing but supportive, albeit a little confused sometimes, so it would suck to end it like this. I'll take a little more time to myself before asking though, it feels a bit icky RN. Commenter 2. Okay, so I'm about to start DMing, and trying to wrap my mind around your character and make sure I don't offend any future players of mine. So here are my questions for you, OP. What does it mean that your fantasy character, who can be whatever sex gender you want them to be, is a trans woman? You said you often play cis women, I get that, so why would someone choose to play as a trans character? To go along with that, if the DM had totally backed you up and said, no, asshole, it doesn't. And in fact, OP's character is now indistinguishable from someone AFAB. Would that be offensive? Would that be like really validating for your character to finally be in the right body? Or would it override your agency BC you wanted to play as trans, scars and all? Reply. Personally, I like having my characters be a part of myself. It leads to better roleplay for me as a player. Additionally, having a queer character can lead to more unique story arcs than cis characters. As for your second question, that's one of the reasons I left the call because I didn't know the answer to that. I hadn't thought about my character's genitalia before, and the fact that Cleric thought she was post-surgery made me think he had thought about it for at least once. There's no good answer to that question that he asked, so I just left. Just like in real life, a person's genitalia is literally nobody's business except the owner of said genitalia. Commenter 3. Would you have appreciated if the DM had approached you to politely ask some questions about your character and your goals to get to know them better? It kind of sounds like you're just telling me to keep my mouth shut and don't ask. Reply. The DM isn't the problem here aside from him not stepping in to boot the problem player. I'm not telling you to shut up, I'm saying that I had never thought about whether my character had a penis or a vagina, and I legitimately had no answer to the question of whether resurrection would bring back her dick if she did have a vagina. It's not something I thought about or something that anyone should be thinking about. It's personal to ask what's in someone's pants no matter what context. So in that case it is better for the DM to just boot the player who's being obviously transphobic and not bring up the very personal and weird question that the spell poses. Update. Hey all, I am back with the update to my previous post from a few days ago. I ended up talking with DM again yesterday and he told me that he had never known Cleric to be that horrible. He apologized for not doing anything in the moment, he was just too stunned, and told me he banned Cleric right after I left. He acknowledged my feelings and understood that my trust in him had somewhat diminished, but he promised to work hard to earn that trust back, and I'm giving him a second chance. I will not be playing with that group still because I'd rather play D&D with people I trust. As for Cleric, I know he sent DM a heated message using many more slurs, which DM said hadn't really been an issue before. Maybe Cleric would slip up here and there, but it was never as bad as when I was at the table. Cleric berated DM, calling him a T-slur-loving F-slur, and much more gross things, as well as telling DM that he hopes that my eventual surgeries get botched. All in all, I'm kind of glad that I went to that table, because the rest of that party and DM would still be playing with a truly awful person in their midst. Also, I would like to say thank you to the mods who seem to have a field day with all the other transphobes in the comments. Appreciate y'all. Comments. Commenter. I would eventually give the D&D group another chance, the rest of the group could be lovely, but I understand your caution, do whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. Reply. Yeah, I'm gonna get to know them bit by bit. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my mother to stop telling people the story behind my name. I, 15M, and my mother, 39F, have similar names due to my mother naming me after her. I don't dislike my name at all. But the story behind it and how my mother constantly wants to tell it to the world is the problem. For backstory, I am her second child, and for her first child, my older brother, 20M, she wanted to know his gender, and she found out and named him. For me, however, she decided to keep it a surprise. However, she for some reason was confident that I would be female and was dead set on naming me after her. Her name is Alexandra, so she would have named me Alexandra as well. Fake names. When I came out male, she simply named me Alexander. However, she would constantly tell everyone she befriended, if we were together, the story on how I was named. It embarrasses me to no end, and I've told her over and over to please not tell that to every new friend her or I make. She even told all of my friends' parents the story despite me asking her to not tell them. She wants to meet my friends' parents for the first time if I want to sleep over for whatever reason. This all boiled down to Thursday when my mother and I went to the grocery store, and as we were leaving, a duo of charity workers came up to us to ask us if we were willing to donate to their cause. My mother, being the social butterfly she sparked up a conversation with them. As the two introduced themselves to us, my mother followed suit and, of course, told them the story I dreaded she would. My name is Alexandra and this is my son Alexander. He was supposed to be a girl and take my name. But he came out a boy, so I named him after me. I got a bit angry and told her, I really wish you wouldn't tell every stranger you meet on the street that. It makes me feel embarrassed and mad. It got silent and my mother's face twisted and just told the charity workers that she'll donate next time and started walking to the car. The car ride home was silent, and when we got home she told me that I really embarrassed her back at the store and that I should have told her something after we got in the car that I didn't like her telling that story. I've said to her that I've told her repeatedly that I don't like her telling everyone with a pulse that she befriends that story, and that I got fed up with her blatantly ignoring me and my request to stop. She just told me to go to my room and to not come out. She of course told everyone in my family what I did, and my stepdad and grandparents said I shouldn't have embarrassed her like that and to apologize to her. My brother and best friend told me I was right to call her out since I've told her many times to stop embarrassing me with that story and that she needed to learn what I felt. I do feel bad and want to apologize and talk to her, but at the same time I still feel like I'm right and that she needed to feel what I feel. Comments. Commenter, I am curious though, which part of this is embarrassing? Is it your mom being friendly and chatting to strangers? Is it being named after your mother? Is it because she got your gender wrong when she was pregnant? I think it's pretty cringe-worthy when people name their children after themselves, but apart from that this feels like pretty common parent behavior. Most adults with teenage children are confident enough in themselves to chat to people and make small talk, which is what this is. It's not embarrassing or significant for either party. Most teenagers aren't as comfortable with small talk, either making or receiving, and find themselves being embarrassed by their parents making it. That feels like part of what's going on here. As for wanting to meet the parents of your friends, that's normal and expected and good parenting. They're responsible for you and need to do their best to ensure the adults whose home you're visiting are as safe as possible. I'd do the same, and my parents did the same, as did the parents of my friends at your age. Particularly if sleeping over. Reply, what I find embarrassing is just her needing to tell that story to people when she introduces us. I don't mind being named after her at all. As for her meeting my friend's parents, I didn't even think about her just wanting to make sure they were responsible. Makes sense now that you say it like that. Commenter, question, why does it embarrass you, other than because you're 15? 15-year-old you will get embarrassed about stuff, and 25-year-old you will have zero idea why. Lots of hormonal angst can be avoided if you can tell the difference. Reply, it's not that I find my name or the story embarrassing, it's just her strange need to tell people the story when she introduces us. Even if I've told her many times to stop. Top comment. Commenter 1, NTA. It's not even a good story. It's not even a story, honestly. Commenter 2, exactly. I think the OP is NTA for many reasons, including protecting strangers from this boring anecdote, and continually boasting that you misgendered your child in the womb. Why would she say that? What does she mean by that? Update post. So a bit of an late update for you, sorry. I want to say thanks for the advice and the support. It means a lot, and I do mean that. I do want to say that please don't make this an whole picture of my mother's and I relationship. She loves me and I love her and we get along very well. She has her flaws just as everyone does. Anyway, the update. So on that Thursday, later in the afternoon, my mother and stepdad came into my room when my best friend and I were playing Lego Fortnite, split screen FTW. My stepdad first apologized for being upset with me and told me that my mother told him that I yelled at her, but she later told him that I didn't and that he agreed that the story was embarrassing. My mother apologized too, but asked me if us being named similarly was embarrassing to me. I told her that I like my name and I don't mind being named similarly, but that she didn't need to tell people this all the time. Thinking back on some comments, I told her that she could just simply introduce us as Alexandra and my son Alexander, and people could just connect the dots. She seemed to like this idea and promised me that she would do that from now on. She said that she told this story to people because she was so proud of the young man I am and just wanted to show off our connection. I told her that it was fine to be proud but in a different way. She agreed. She told me as an apology, she would make pizza in our pizza oven we have outside with whatever toppings I like. It's my best friend and I favorite food with our favorite toppings, mushrooms and peppers. She was excited but then again she practically lives here so she eats it plenty LMAO, I agreed. Not an exciting upgrade but a hopeful one nonetheless. Thank you again for all the support even the ones who said I was YTA. I did read all of them. Stories number 12. My daughter wants me to rename her. My 18-year-old daughter came out as a transgender woman. My husband and I have been 100% supportive, and I very much welcome another girl in the house. She has 3 brothers. She expressed initially that she was comfortable going by her birth name, as it is gender neutral, but after turning 18 and getting ready for college, she's decided she needs a new name. And she wants me to choose it. She says that she still wants to be named by her mama. I melted. I come seeking ideas. Her only parameter is that it's nothing that seems like she renamed herself. By this I'm assuming more out there names are out. It's such a challenge picking a name for someone you already know so well, and not a newborn. She's incredibly intelligent, bookish, shy but spunky, and a total sweetheart. Gorgeous, curly red hair and freckles. We are a family of Jewish-Irish descent and her brothers are Lev, Raphael, Raph, and Elias. I never had girl names picked out, as I found out later in the game. Do any names come to mind with this description? Her middle name will be Miriam, family name. Thank you in advance. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, did you have any baby names picked out for a girl when you were pregnant with your boys? Personally, I love traditional names. I'd go with something along the lines of Ruth, Rachel, or Anna. Wanting to be named by her mama, that really made my day. Reply, I did not. I found out about my pregnancies fairly late into the game so it was never really a question. Commenter 2, Eliana. This whole situation is so sweet, happy for you and her. Reply, I love this name. Would be one of my top contenders if not so similar to her brothers. Commenter, to not seem like she renamed herself, I would suggest names that were ranking in the year she was born. Suggestions, Alicia, Caitlin, Callie, Kira, Phoebe, Nadia, Natalie. Reply, good thinking. Kira is lovely. Commenter 3, Rebecca. Reply, Rebecca is taken by me. Otherwise it would be a fantastic suggestion. Commenter 4, Leah, Elizabeth, Eliza, really like this one, Anna, Delilah, Eve. Reply, Eliza is lovely, thank you. Commenter 5, this is so incredibly wholesome. I intentionally chose my son's name to be gender neutral both because I love gender neutral names but I also wanted to make sure the option to keep his name what it is would still be there should he ever come out as trans. Had my son been a girl, his name might have stayed the same that it is right now. However, I really loved Julian August and would have been on the fence about using it instead. I guess I could have used it for him anyway but something about Julian as a girl's name just seems prettier to me. I'm also a big fan of Lillian, Elaine, Meredith, Margot, Tegan, Parker and Chandler. Just to name a few LOL picking baby names, even though your baby isn't exactly a baby anymore LOL, is my favorite pastime. Again, I can't say enough how much I love this post and the sentiment behind it. Your family sounds so full of love. If you've got room for another daughter, I went no contact with my parents years ago and am free to a good home. Reply, there's always room, sweetheart. Dinners at 7 and Lillian is lovely. Most awarded comment, how incredibly touching. Naomi Miriam, a timeless Hebrew name meaning pleasantness. Esther Miriam, a strong, classic Jewish name with historical significance. Clara Miriam, a bookish, vintage name that feels sophisticated yet warm. Maeve Miriam, a beautiful Irish name meaning intoxicating with a strong history. Talia Miriam, a lovely Hebrew name meaning gentle dew from heaven. Fiona Miriam, an Irish name meaning fair, fitting her red hair and freckles. Sylvie Miriam, a delicate yet intelligent-sounding name of French and Jewish origin. Daphne Miriam, a literary and nature-inspired name with a graceful touch. Lena Miriam, simple, elegant, and effortlessly classic. Reply, oh wow. What amazing suggestions. Sylvie is gorgeous, as is the rest of your list. Update post. Let's preface this by saying that this will be long and mushy. I took this very, very seriously and would love to share the experience. Feel free to skip to the bottom for the name reveal, sharing with her full blessing. First of all, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the outpouring of support. The love far outweighed the hate, and we were absolutely awestruck by the support. I still have quite a few private messages to get through, but please know that I will read each and every one of them and do my best to respond. I got quite a few comments asking why I would post to Reddit when my daughter asked me to name her. The answer is that I'm simply not a very creative person, and trying to come up with a name from scratch is so hard. I haven't named a baby in 16 years and we have an enormous family, i.e., difficult to think of names that we love and aren't taken. I came here for inspiration and received more than I could have ever wished for. Going about choosing was incredibly difficult, but I eventually got my list down to a top 3. They needed to pass a few tests. 1. Does the name suit her? 2. Would 2006 me have chosen this name? 3. Does it sound out of whack with her brother's names? And most importantly, does she love it? I brought the top 3 to her and she said, "Mom, this is defeating the purpose. I don't want to choose." So, I had another idea. We would have 3 little coffee lunch dates around the city and use a different name to order with, so she could feel each name out and see if any of them were definitive no's. That ruled out Talia, gorgeous name, but didn't feel quite right to her. Aviva was also a top contender that didn't make the cut. I mulled over the final 2 for what seems like years, but I chose, and she expressed that it was secretly her favorite too. It felt like divine intervention to be in this situation, considering this name, with Purim so close. I am the incredibly proud mama of Esther Miriam. I absolutely love it, and so does she. Essie May evolved as a nickname from her father overnight, and it made me fall in love even more. May was the nickname of her namesake and she happens to be a May baby. Esther also has immense meaning to us as Jews, and I can absolutely say that 2006 me would have chosen it. The runner-up was Naomi. I could not have done it without this forum. Thank you all so very much for sharing this with me. Stories number 13. Had my father pass away 10 days before my university examinations. Had my request for a supplementary exam denied as there wasn't sufficient evidence to prove that it affected me. So this happened a few years ago. I lost my father to cancer. It was rather untimely as he was only 55. The gap between diagnosis and his demise was a little over 3 months. Safe to say everyone was in shock as to how quickly it progressed. I applied to have an extension on my examinations which were just over 10 days after he passed and sent his death certificate as evidence. I didn't bother checking on the status of the application as we were busy preparing for his funeral and the other financial mumbo-jumbo after the breadwinner in your family passes away. I was confident that this was reason enough to not attend for the university. Logged back on a week or so after the exams only to realize that they had denied my request as they didn't have sufficient evidence to believe that it would have affected my ability to attend the examinations. I was fortunate enough that the actual subject coordinators had enough compassion to not consider the university's decision actually let me attend to my examinations at a later date. Safe to say it was mildly infuriating. Edit, I am really overwhelmed by the compassion from y'all and more importantly disappointed by the similar experiences people have had. I truly hope you guys have had the right amount of support help to get through these experiences. And thank you for all the support. I really questioned myself initially but seeing the amount of support has been a relief that this was a dick move by the university. This was in Australia BTW. Stories number 14. Aita for not giving my stepsister my half of her mother's life insurance. Hello, this is actually happening to my husband right now but he asked me to post. He doesn't go on Reddit but he does like me to read him some of the stories from this sub. So my husband, male 47, had a stepmom who was 81 and just recently passed at the beginning of March. His father who she was married to passed away when my husband was 19. He died of cancer and knew it was coming so he revised a will for his then wife and only child, my husband. The will was a little unusual. It stated that the home my husband's father owned would belong to both my husband and his current wife, however, his wife would be allowed to be the sole resident until she passed or decided to move out. Then the sole ownership would go to my husband. His wife was not allowed to will the home to her children or relatives. I'm not sure the term for this, it's like she owned it, but didn't fully own it. The reason behind this was my husband's father was rather vindictive. He didn't care for his ex-wife very much, my husband's mother, and he didn't like his own stepkids either. So in the chance he passed while my husband was still under the age of 18 his ex-wife would have no sway over his son or the house seeing as his current wife would have it, and her kids would never have it as when she passed it would go to my husband. When his father passed his stepmother gathered a few of his things up in garbage bags and left them on the porch of his dad's house for him and wouldn't let him inside. She also wouldn't let him have his TV, his pictures, his video games or his childhood toys. He's sure those went to her grandkids. He said that was the last time she spoke to him and her last words to him were, "The TV stays." So that was 28 years ago. Now to today. His stepmother died. Her daughter, female 60s, tried to, and unsuccessfully get half the house. She has no claim according to the lawyers she spoke to. So there's now a little bad blood between her and my husband, but he's trying to remain amicable. Her mother just passed, and while he didn't like her, it was her mother. However, we were contacted by his late stepmother's insurance company. Because she didn't name a beneficiary on the policy, my husband is entitled to half the payout. We don't know how much it is yet. His stepsister is furious and thinks it's unfair. She wants my husband to collect his half and give it to her. He is torn. He knows his stepmother kept all of his father's life insurance. Even though she was trusted to give some to him. She kept most of his belongings and kept him out of his father's home. So he's bitter. Legally the money is his. But he feels like morally it might not be. His stepmother hated him and she would have never named him on her policy. Would he be the AH if he kept the money? Stories number 15. My 14-year-old son got arrested yesterday and I'm happy. Yesterday, my son was arrested by the police because he made death threats to 2 girls from his school. I've been fighting for years to get my son a psychiatric evaluation, but no one believes me. For context, in the past, I was a victim of domestic violence. The father of my children raped me, hit me, tried to strangle me, insulted me, and made death threats. He did all of this on impulse. He was never imprisoned because it was my word against his. I have full custody of my children, and he has them on weekends. He lives with his parents, so there is some safety for my children. Co-parenting with my ex has been a battle for over 10 years. He does everything he can to make me look like a bad mother. I'm the one who meets my children's needs, while he just buys their love. My son is like his father. He has extreme impulses. He has punched holes in the walls, been violent at school, and done many other things. I have sought help multiple times, but I keep hitting a wall. Our healthcare system takes too long and doesn't take enough action. Most doctors didn't believe me when I told them about the situation. They pretended to send the necessary documents, but nothing happened. We are being followed by a social worker from a program that helps young people, but even she didn't see the severity of the situation. Every week, I am forced to attend family meetings with my ex, who boasts that he has 0 problems with our son and that the issue is only at my house. When I spoke to the investigator, I told them I knew I would meet them one day because no one ever believed me. I feel so sorry for the victims my son has harmed. I know exactly how they feel because I have felt it in the past. Now, everyone is scrambling to cover themselves. The father remains in denial, refusing to take any responsibility. But the truth always comes out. My son is with me. We are waiting for his court date. He have restrictions. He will change school. Tomorrow, we have a doctor appointments to have medication and a reference in psychiatry. Little update, I saw another doctor today didn't want to help. He just said go the ER. I'm sure we will wait for at least 16H. Comments. Commenter 1. I raised my youngest 2 alone from when they were 7 and 4 to 18 and 15. My ex took me to court mid-2019 for visits and to not pay child support because I can't afford the necessities of life. He'd been paying $50 a month per kid. Judge told me I could either have child support or the Social Security, but not both. Kids were receiving benefits via his disability claim. I was the rep payee. Gal asked for a neuropsych eval. He dragged it out until the judge caved and gave him visits to the youngest. The oldest aged out and wants nothing to do with him anyway. Less than a month after visits started, my son decided he wanted to move in with his father and his girlfriend. He's also started treating me like his father did. It's unbelievably heartbreaking. I've gotten him help in the past when I was still doing it on my own. He's had 4 hospitalizations. We had him on the right regimen of medicine, but now that he's with his father, he takes none. He's taking me to court for child support for the youngest and for custody of my 19-year-old. Yup, he's going after custody of an adult. Why? Probably because my 19-year-old is transgender and their father does not agree with anything LGBTQ. I filed my own motion. Court is tomorrow, Valentine's Day. Reply, the court never sees we are victims even after the relationship is over. My ex's lawyer told the judge I was an unfit mother because I let my ex rape me. Stay strong, one day they will see how good you are for your children. Commenter 2, I have 4 kids, 2 from my first marriage and 2 from my second. It's my youngest 2 that I commented about. My 16 years is turning into his father that I'm scared he'll physically hurt me like his father did. I have a permanent restraining order against his father. Reply, my son is already 6 foot and 145 pounds. He's really strong. He's the sweetest boy, help me when I need something, but when he has an impulse, he could be violent. I got a restraining order only for 2 years. Update. Several of you have asked me for an update, so here it is. In the days following the arrest, we consulted a clinic doctor to get a referral for psychiatry. He refused and told us to go to the emergency room. We didn't go because my son was not in crisis, nor sick, and even less so injured. Our emergency rooms are overcrowded, and we risked waiting 20 hours. The first appointment we had after the incident with the social worker who has been following up with my son since August was very difficult. My son's father said as he was leaving that he had done everything for our son to get help. I shut him down by telling him that calling Child Protective Services for cleanliness issues, false complaints, and the police for violence against me, I have never hit my son, even though sometimes he deserves a kick in the butt, only caused more problems for me and nothing else. During the meeting, the social worker tried to understand what was going through my son's mind. In short, it was a teenage argument that escalated. The next day, the social worker scheduled an appointment with me alone. She referred me to 3 support groups. She explained that even though my relationship with my ex is over, he continues to exert another form of violence called post-separation domestic violence, multiple stops in child support payments and false complaints. I contacted one of the support groups, and they can help my son at the same time. My son has accepted that his behavior is not normal and that he needs help. Last Monday was the big day. My son appeared before the judge. Essentially, the lawyer received the case file that very morning, so the hearing was postponed to next month. On Tuesday, we had a meeting with the new school. We had a brief discussion with them. For now, I'm still waiting for everything, but mentally, I feel better. My ex is starting to realize that he's in trouble, and the worst is yet to come for him. Comments. Commenter 1. Where are you, OP? When you've experienced DV, your kids experience it with you. They become violent because of it. He may need therapy. Is there any way to get him to a trauma counselor or psychiatrist? Reply. I'm from Quebec, Canada. We are waiting for it. I should have a call this week for it. Commenter 2. As someone who has mental health problems, I hope so much your son can get the help he needs and feel inspired to keep it up. I've been in the psychiatric ward more than once and life can be hard, but when I got on my medication my whole life changed. My mind was very quiet in a way I don't think I'd ever experienced before. Maybe even you should inquire about some medication if it's possible because it truly is a life changer. I know it doesn't always work the same for everyone, but there's hope with this and beyond. Reply. I was thinking about the medication, but without a diagnostic he can't have it. I know he needs it because sometimes he can't control his word during class. Stories number 16. My 27M girlfriend, 28F, told me she would not cheat on me after coming home from a girls' night out. Last weekend I picked my girlfriend up from a bar after she had a girls' night. When we got back to the apartment, I carried her up the stairs as in her words, a princess should not have to walk. As I carried her, she said, I would never cheat on you, you are too good for that, and gave me a kiss. I didn't think much of it at the time because she definitely drank a lot that night, but I have been having trouble getting that out of my head. How do I decipher that statement? I mean, there are a few cases that I can think of. Someone pressured her to cheat, one of her friends cheated on their partners. This is complicated because I have become friends with her friends' partners. She was just being drunk and not thinking. I have been cheated on before and I have expressed to my girlfriend that cheating is the ultimate no-no for me and would cause an instant breakup, so she knows it's a touchy topic. I just wanted some advice before I make a big deal of this because I tend to overthink things. Top comments. Commenter 1. If she knows that you've been cheated on before, it makes complete sense to me that reassuring you apropos of nothing would seem like a good idea to drunk her. I wouldn't worry about it. Commenter 2. I'm imagining in her head, I'm coming home drunk and he has the past experience of being cheated on. He might have that worry in the back of his head. I'd hate that. I don't want him to worry. I'd never do it. And her drunk brain did not stop her, even though if she had been sober she would have realized even saying it would cause you to feel bad. Commenter 3. She's probably drunk and it's probably her way of saying she likes you very much. Commenter 4. Some partners can feel jealous, insecure, anxious about their girlfriend going on a girls' night for fear of them being disloyal. I think it's her drunken and clumsy way to counter any concerns you may have about her enjoying nights out without you, that you treat her like a princess and she'll always be loyal. But definitely chat to her about it and how it's felt strange to you for her to say in that way. Try not to assume the worst, at least if there are no other indications of something amiss. Update. A few people asked for an update, so here it is. Also thanks for all the advice. I talked to my girlfriend and there is good news and bad news. Good news, my girlfriend didn't cheat. When I asked her about her comment, she had absolutely no memory of saying it, lol. Bad news, When I asked why she would say something like that, she admitted that one of the girls she was out with, Jane, made out with a guy that was not her boyfriend, John. She said that the comment probably came from the fact that the guy Jane was smashing tongues with had a few friends that were hitting on her friend group, but lost interest after there were no takers. Needless to say, I voiced my concern with the fact that she had told me none of this and she agreed that it was shitty and even looked suspicious. She told me she was looking for a chance to tell me, but I broached the subject first and that she is going to take it easy when it comes to drinking when I am not with her, for my reassurance and for her hangover lol. Also one of her friends got promoted, which is why they were going hard that night. This is not a common occurrence for them. Now for Jane and John. My girlfriend said that Jane had been texting in a group chat saying that John was acting cold at the start of the week and went radio silence after that. I called up John to double check that he knew as well as ask if he wanted to get a beer sometime. He agreed and told me that Jane and he had officially broken up and she was a mess, constantly texting and calling him. I also asked him for Jane's side of the story, so I can match it with what my GF told me. I'm a bit paranoid, I know. The stories matched up. She had been drinking, a guy came up to her, they flirted, she made a mistake. As far as Jane, my GF and her friends, I am assuming that one of her friends told John. I forgot to ask John, but he is a good guy and has become good friends with my GF's friend group. As of now Jane hasn't reached out to my GF or her friends. Definitely not the best ending, but it worked out alright for me. Top comments. Commenter 1, it's the best outcome. Your GF also didn't try to defend Jane, which is a green flag. Commenter 2, great, she didn't cheat on you, but this was quite clear from the moment you posted. She didn't do anything wrong and also isn't required to tell you every instance of her night out. Especially if it doesn't relate to her. If she wants to tell you, that's her decision. I'm glad you guys spoke, but it's clear that you need to address your paranoia and anxiety around this relationship. It's not your fault if you've been treated poorly in the past, but it is your fault if you let this impact how you treat project things onto others in the future. Best of luck. Stories number 17. Me 26M. My GF 26F cheated on me with a friend 27M and have left me for him. They both want me to remain friendly with them, so does all my other friends. So I am in hell. People I thought I knew since elementary have decided that my GF and my friend cheating on me is just fine, they were just more compatible and you will find someone, don't worry, they say. They still want to include me socially when we all go out, but I have to watch my ex-GF and my friend be a couple, and think I will get over it easily, but it's become torture for me and have pulled away from them. I woke up this morning hating them all and never felt so alone and pathetic in my life. These are not just causal acquaintances but people I have known since I was a kid, people who I am close to, or so I thought they all knew as well. I just feel ridiculed and don't want to hang out with them anymore and feel like I want to throw up. I was never the hookup type. I look okay, but I am not like my friends who hook up and for them sex is no big deal. I honestly feel like I am on a collision course with my entire social circle and just want to cut them all out of my life. Sorry for rambling. I have no idea if I am overreacting or even what to do anymore, so anybody else have a similar situation. Luckily, it only took a couple hours before Reddit got him to put his head on straight. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Mate, you already know what you need to do to be happy again. They are a source of pain, anxiety, etc. Cut them all off and never look back. This chapter of your life is over, focus on the next. Commenter 2. Sometimes as we age we learn that we've outgrown those we've known for a long time. Sounds like you're at that stage now that all your childhood friends have revealed themselves to be garbage. Join a club or hobby group for something you enjoy, and forget about these people. Ghost them if you can. Commenter 3. Yeah, they don't want any consequences for their actions. And they want you to make that happen for them. Commenter 4. Their reactions make me think they knew about the cheating before you did. And it sounds like they supported it, which is super fucked up. Not everyone is meant to last forever. They chose your cheating of friends over you, and I'm sure they'll regret it when they're the ones being stabbed in the back. Commenter 5. First, they are not your friends. Friendship is based on honesty, loyalty, and support. Your girl and the male friend have shown you they lack those qualities. People will say turn the cheek, learn from mistakes, don't do it, life is too short, remove the people in your life who betray you. It will hurt in the beginning but you will come out of it stronger and better. I am speaking from experience and from the knowledge of 4 years of group therapy with people who had the same issues. Everyone wants you to remain their friend cause it's what is easiest. Life isn't easy, it's about hard choices and being strong. Commenter 5. Do all your friends know that your GF cheated on you with this guy? Would they condone cheating? Would they be okay if their partner does the same? Would they be okay if you hook up with one of their partners? I think your friends are full of crap. I think your GF is full of crap and you need new friends and a new girlfriend. You need to drop these people like a hot rock. Reply. Yes, they know she cheated and the guy is not some random but one that was part of our social group and who I had known since I was a kid. I sent another friend in our group a message and told him that they were all finished with me and wanted nothing more to do with my ex, him or the rest of the group for that matter. You guys humiliated me and expect me to be okay with it. Sorry I can't do it, and as far as I am concerned you are all finished with me. My phone has been blowing up for the past hour with everyone calling me including my ex. I refuse to pick up. I deleted them all of my FB and just put the phone to silent, and will go to work tomorrow as usual. Final update 2. Commenter 1. Do you mind me asking how long the two of you were together and also how long ago the breakup was? I'm just trying to understand how your friends could be this callous. How big a circle of friends are we talking? Reply. We started dating when we were 18 and we all have known each other way longer than that. The breakup was 3 weeks ago, but they did not officially become a couple until about a week ago. They have been texting me all day after I told them I wanted them out of my life, and said I can't stand being around them anymore. Like I wrote in my post, sex was never a big deal for them. I knew a few of them slept around, never bothered me, none of my business really. But I think they just saw this as, oh, I will be fine, and that I would understand because they must have assumed I was on board with their lifestyle. Which is the sense I have gotten from reading some of their texts and asking me please talk to them. I don't think they expected me to react this way, but honestly it's for the best and maybe it's time to move on and find new people to be around. Stories number 18. Aita, for being brutally honest to my wife about cheating. So this happened over the past weekend. We were at a party with friends and this question popped up. We essentially had a small never had I ever game, which is pretty childish looking back, but we're all in our later 20s so it isn't that bad. One of the questions was, never have I ever forgiven a partner for cheating. A few people counted that as something they did, including my wife. I expressed my surprise about it, since I wouldn't expect her of all people to give someone a chance after cheating. Other than that, the night went on just fine and I was driving us home. I don't drink, I hate alcohol. I asked her about the whole situation with forgiving a partner for cheating. In her words, her ex-boyfriend of so many years back cheated on her. He came clean about it and they tried again, but then he went and did it again in the same manner. She said she didn't regret giving him a second chance and would do the same if I happened to cheat. I figure this is just her being drunk. I have no intention of cheating on her. In absence of any answer from me, she asks if I'd do the same for her. I bluntly told her that I wouldn't be able to forgive cheating, nor would I ever expect to be forgiven for cheating if I somehow ended up doing it. Short of physical abuse or other heinous acts, it's the worst thing you can do to someone you love. I don't know what happened to her after that, but she stopped talking the rest of the car ride. Ever since then, she's been dead silent around me. She isn't her usual bubbly self and is withdrawn when I have conversations with her. She avoids any questions about what happened on Saturday night too. I asked our mutual friends about any context I may have missed, and a few of them said that she must have taken it a bit too hard. As in me not being able to forgive her for hypothetical cheating means I don't love her as much as she loves me. Her two oldest friends kind of implied that I shouldn't have been so blunt about it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I think in her mind that means you love her less than she does. I don't think the same. For me cheating was always a breaking point. Couldn't forgive and wouldn't expect to be forgiven, like you said. But some people have the mindset that if you really love someone they could do anything to you and you have to try and give them another chance. I don't see it as a sign she wants to cheat on you or has done it. NTA, I'd talk to her that loving someone doesn't mean that there aren't any boundaries. Commenter 2. NTA, this is stupid, on her part. Did she cheat and is sad that you wouldn't be willing to forgive her? Does she have the urge to or plan on doing it and hopes you'd give her another chance? Either way, it doesn't look good. Just because she can forgive a cheater doesn't mean you can or should. Reply, I should have said something about this in my post, but I really don't think she cheated on me. We both work very demanding jobs as it is and have an active social life, so it'd be very difficult to have an affair. She's a pediatrician and works at a hospital that gets a lot of traffic. And I don't think her coworkers are threats. Most I've met ran into are really old, married men. Commenter 3. Hospitals are so much dirtier than you think, drama-wise. Update. I'd have to say about 90% of the comments immediately went to her being a cheat or planning on cheating with some handsome doctor. That isn't what's happening here. I pressed the issue when I got home last night and she finally cracked. She said she felt like I thought less of her for choosing to give her ex one more chance, and felt hurt to hear me speak about ending our marriage so frankly. Obviously I didn't mean to hurt her with what I thought would be a meaningless hypothetical. I explained that I valued our relationship too much to cheat on her, which is what I meant by my answer. We had a much longer chat about why she felt so down and I think we got to the crux of the matter. She confessed to still having fears of me having an affair like he did and losing the relationship. In short, she feels like she hasn't actually processed the cheating from her old relationship. Her ex was her first relationship, so having him cheat on her clearly messed up her self-confidence. She was anxious during the first year or so during our relationship because of some female friends I had and who are still in my life. Her ex cheated with one of his friends both times. She came clean about checking my phone for any secret chats or apps during our entire relationship. We both know each other's passwords and use the other person's phones freely. So when I said that I wouldn't tolerate having an affair, whether it be on my side or hers, she just felt guilty about being so worried all the time. I think she would benefit from some form of counseling to help get over this, which she agrees with, so now we're planning on getting individual therapy for her and possibly something for the both of us. At the same time, I'm reassuring her that this isn't a marriage-ending issue and that I'm not angry at her. Needless to say, things are still off at home but much better now that this is all out in the open now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Sounds like you had a really productive and healthy conversation about it and came to the right conclusions. I hope she'll actually give counseling a try. You'll both feel a lot better once she can work through and let go of her fears and insecurities. Wish you all the best. Commenter 2. Wow, communication. Stories number 19. Aita for embarrassing my stepmother by telling our neighbor that her relationship is a product of an affair. My 16th birthday is soon. I want to celebrate with my mum and siblings on the actual day, but my dad asked if I could come over to his to celebrate my birthday as well as his housewarming party. Anyway, I did not want to come. I'm not on good terms with my dad for his wife and new kids, but because of the custody arrangements I have to spend some weekends with him. My stepmom is someone who is very eager to please everyone and she loves to brag about her lifestyle. She just carries herself in an extremely condescending way. My parents divorced when I was 7 whilst my mum was going through chemotherapy for stage 3 breast cancer. My dad had an affair when my mum was in hospital and he said it was due to the stress of having to look after us and that he needed some female comfort, whatever the hell that means. They tried to make things work after the affair but they never could since my dad wouldn't stop seeing my now stepmom, who was my mum's co-worker. This was the biggest betrayal. My mum worked in a small business, everyone was like family and her co-workers visited us often and used to bring us goodie bags. My stepmom was one of them. They've been married for 9 years now and I have never been able to have a relationship with them. So during the housewarming event, one of the neighbors approached me and asked how I feel about having a stepmom and blended family. She was asking me cause her daughter, who is in a similar age range to me, struggles with it. I just flat out told her that I don't view them as family because their affair broke any relationship. She was visibly shocked and my stepmom was bright red and was stuttering, saying that there was no overlap and that I was young and confused. She proceeded to lock herself up in her room crying, and when the party was over my dad screamed at me saying that I'm so hard to love and that I'm so bitter. I told him that I feel the same way. I tried to act like it didn't hurt me, but I'm so upset that my own father would say this to me. I always knew he loves his new family more than me, but I didn't expect him to say it outright. My stepmom said that if I come over she would no longer spend weekends with him and will take the kids away. My dad is on the phone with my mum asking if it would be fine if I no longer come over. My stepmom is now refusing to leave the house, saying she's humiliated and can no longer show her face around the neighborhood, which is quite close-knit. So do you guys think I'm the I know what I did was wrong, but what they did was 100 times worse. Just looking for an objective opinion. Stories number 20. Aita for not letting Mill help with my confinement and insulting my hubby in the process. I 24, just had my first baby with my husband 27, and in Nigeria, we have this tradition called omugwo, where either of our moms comes to help out after childbirth. I wanted my mom to come because we have a better dynamic, but my MIL is way more traditional, and we just don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, especially household stuff. Lately, I've been really struggling postpartum. I don't like being touched, I'm super sensitive to light and sound, and everyone has respected that except my MIL. We've always had a decent relationship, just not when it comes to how things should be done around the house. A few days ago, she called to ask when she should come, and I politely told her I had already asked my mom. She lost it, saying that's not how things are done, that she needed to bond with the baby, that I was being disrespectful, lazy, and keeping her from her grandchild. I corrected her and told her she would see the baby, just not with living with us. She immediately called my husband, but thankfully, he backed me up, saying it was my choice since I was the one who gave birth. Fast forward to the day my mom was supposed to arrive, she was already being so supportive, even telling me I should just let Mael come for peace sake and they could be here together, but I stood my ground to many people in the house. Not even a minute after my mom arrived, Mael showed up with FIL and her bags, ready to move in. I told her no, she wasn't staying here. She completely lost it, yelling that I was a bad DIL, an even worse mother, and that I wasn't giving my child what he deserved. At that point, I snapped. I told her I didn't want her here because all she'd do was criticize everything I was doing wrong while giving her son a pass for being lazy, just like she did with her husband and her other son. I told her she wasn't going to come into my home and make me feel like a maid, and that I deserve to be surrounded by people who actually love me, not people who pick and choose when to care. I also said she wasn't going to use my child as a second chance at parenting because she failed the first time. The second the words left my mouth, I regretted them. My husband, who had been so supportive, just looked so hurt and walked away. Mil looked like she swallowed a whole duck, and Fil, while understanding that I didn't want her there, said I didn't have to be so harsh. Now, my SIL and in-laws are blowing up my phone, and honestly, I don't even know what to do next. Stories number 21. Baby born blind. Need help. I'm a crying mess now. I need help. While I'm devastated, I need to prepare him for a life with blindness. Any help, experience with raising a blind child will be appreciated. The disease is called retinal macular dystrophy. And baby is currently 4 months old. Comments. Commenter 1, Hi, I was a baby who was born blind until I grew out of it, the babiness, not the blindness. My parents got help for a couple of years from local blind associations, however they largely treated me like any other baby, just with more talking and touching. I'm guessing they were a bit safety conscious when I started walking though. I attended a regular school for 9 years and then completed my education at a blind school. I'm midway through my master's in international law. The most important piece of advice I could give you is not to allow your child's blindness to affect your expectations of them. Give them all the same opportunities, fight for them when things aren't right, because things will go wrong. Make sure they have the best foundations you can give them. Good luck. Commenter 2, Big hugs from me. You're going through a scary situation right now. In time things will get better, but right now all your hopes and dreams for your little one have been thrown in the air. For the next 6 months or so, your child is going to be like every other baby. They're going to poop, eat, cry and sleep. They might not recognize you by sight, but they will know your smell, your sound and your feel. So talk to them loads, cuddle them, and let them know you are there for them. Like other people have suggested, reach out to your country's blind associations. They will know other parents in your situation who you can reach out to. Blind kids with no other impairments can normally attend regular school with some assistance. Your child still has the world ahead of them. Don't let their lack of sight put you off. Blind people are still capable, intelligent and can do so much, especially with modern technology such as text-to-speech. Commenter 3, you and your wife must be feeling so many different emotions now. Sad for your child, probably angry that it happened, maybe even hopeless. I don't have much to add, except before jumping into action and thinking of the future, take some time to grieve a bit for right now. It helps. It's not the end. Your child will grow and flourish. And what he can't see, you can see, and he will hear from you and your wife's voice how proud the two of you are for him. It will be okay. Update 1. Thanks everyone. My wife and I are still reeling from this. We are worried about how to raise him properly and if he will have other conditions that will affect him. We are also worried about his life after we are gone, wondering who will take care of him, if he will be lonely and sad being without us and can't see. I'm sorry I can't answer every replies, but I've read them. Update 2. First off, I'd like to thank Redditors for assisting in my time of need. I truly appreciate it. I've experienced a roller coaster of emotions over the past few weeks and I thought I owe it to you guys to give an update of our situation. To clarify, without giving away too many details, I'm the father of the child and my wife and I are in our early 30s. This is our first child. Baby's condition. The first consultation with the private ophthalmologist stated that his condition is a form of macular dystrophy. The macular is the center portion of our retinal that forms images. A second opinion with another ophthalmologist in KKH suggested that it could be a form of Leber congenital amaurosis, LCA, which is a specific type of macular dystrophy. But because the condition is so rare, she is also unsure. We will need to undergo an electroretinogram, which will test the activity, or lack thereof, of his rod cone cells in his eyes to be sure. But what is clear to us is that he is definitely blind as he is unable to focus or look at us and his eyes are constantly roving. However, at first, we still had hopes that he will have some residual vision. Blindness is rarely complete, it almost always exists as a spectrum, but the second ophthalmologist dashed that hope when she said that the baby's eyes doesn't respond to light, which is how they test for residual vision. Most sufferers of LCA also reports never having any vision, so I guess we have to live with the fact that he could be completely blind. Other than that, the baby is also showing signs of hypotonic, which is the weakness of the body, which is slowing his physical development. That is also super worrying. At 5 months, he is still unable to completely lift his head up. This could be a cause of lack of vision motivation, but could also be because of other neurological conditions associated with this genetic condition. Our emotions. Any parents can tell you, there is no pain and anguish like those felt when something happens to your children. When we first heard about his blindness, both of us cried non-stop from the specialist clinic to our home and for the next few days. But we also quickly realized that we have to stay strong in order to raise the child well. My wife and I are both very pragmatic people. But then, the days are good, but the nights are tough. I also quietly realized that in order to give our child the best foundation to grow, we need to give him a strong family support, and so the one thing that I've promised to do is to work on myself and our marriage, in order to give him that foundation. From that moment on, all the Singaporean dream is gone. We don't wish that our child can become successful, educated and rich, but that he simply becomes happy, independent and able to find his purpose and meaning in life. We will not limit his potential, however, but I think our vision of success has changed. We are also inspired by the potential of the visually impaired as we learn about the truly groundbreaking individuals such as Dr. Yeo Zi-ling, a PhD holder working in A***, and Cassandra Chiu, a counselor. Visually impaired individuals are not cognitively impaired, and given the right opportunities, they can flourish like any other individuals. While the society is improving, Singapore is still generally apathetic towards individuals with special needs. I'll admit, I was one of them. As sighted individuals, we have really taken things for granted. Do you realize that our traffic lights no longer produce the sound for the visually impaired? I have no idea why, but I have a feeling that it could be due to noise complaints in the residential areas. If anyone knows somebody in LTA that I could approach, it'll be great. What next? We are taking things one step at a time. The most important thing right now is to adjust our interaction style to suit a visually impaired baby. We will be going for genetic testing in order to determine the gene responsible for causing this condition and also an MRI to determine what is causing the hypotonia. I guess, the only consolation here is that because he is born blind, he wouldn't know what he is missing and that this is his reality and his world. Let me know if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them as much as possible. Comments. Commenter 1, as a guy just about to start a family and getting a baby, I feel your pain. I had tears in my eyes just reading about this for the first time. We talk about the Singapore dream, being rich and educated, but at the end of the day, parents just want their children to be healthy. All the best to you and your family. The journey is still long, but it will still be full of hopes ahead. Commenter 2, hey there, I'm not fully blind but am legally blind. In my youth, I also went to the school for the visually handicapped, and have interacted with blind persons who were my friends. Hopefully I can ease your worry a little, as best as I can. First, please don't fret. Yes, taking care of a blind child can be challenging. Yes, sacrifices will have to be made. But with the right care and support, your child can go on to lead a fulfilling life. I've seen this myself, when I interacted with other blind persons. The most important thing is to lend support for your child to excel at what they love. The School for the Blind in SG is good, with caring teachers and activities that help other children in similar situations learn to interact and make friends. Second, if your child is born blind, remember, he or she will have no basis of comparison to what sight is. There's no cognitive frame of reference. In other words, your child won't actually go through a sense of loss. Unless society makes him or her feel sympathy that can lead to self-pity. That is where you can best come in. Don't let your child feel he or she has lost anything. It is what it is, and there are ways to cope and learn and thrive. The most important thing is encouragement, not sympathy. Third, if you need financial support due to your child's condition, there are government schemes available. Be sure to seek this out. I myself use transport concession cards, and also was supported by the government for my sight aids. They do a good job in this area, so do reach out to them. Lastly, love your child as you would any other. Trust me, with the right care and support, he or she can go on to do remarkable things. Sure, it will not always be easy, and there will be setbacks within society. But a great loving support network goes a long, long way to unlock the full potential for joy. If you ever need a listening ear, drop me a DM. I'll be happy to share more experiences I had with my blind friends, who are some of the sweetest people I've ever met. Commenter 3, my heart goes out to you. The fact that you are sharing with us your story shows your strength. Thank you for keeping us updated. I am secretly hoping that you document your journey with us, as this raises awareness about visual impairment, or any disabilities in Singapore for that matter. I have so much to learn from you. Update. Hi everyone, it's been some time since our last post and I'll just like to take the time to update and close this chapter here on Reddit. Again, my wife and I would like to express a big thank you to everyone who had tried to help, commented, or silently said a prayer for us. Thank you. I'm proud to say that we have decided to create an Instagram account to document our journey, raise awareness, and advocate for people with disabilities in Singapore. Do follow us if you would like to know more about our son's condition, or just to see some cute baby pictures. Since the last update, a lot of things have happened and so I'll just give some key highlights. How are we doing? Actually, we are doing surprisingly well, even better than I had expected. Most of the time, we are happy and positive. Both my wife and I are really pragmatic people, and we know that nothing we do can change his condition. So we are not wasting time being sad and mopey. We keep in mind that if we, as parents, focus on his disabilities instead of his abilities, we may affect his confidence growing up, and that may be even worse for him. We want him to grow up with a positive mindset, and that starts with us. On the other hand, unfortunately, his condition is affecting the emotions of his grandparents a lot more. One time, grandmother cried really badly when grandfather mentioned that he would like to bring the grandchildren, his cousins, to see the orchard Christmas light, as she felt really sad that our child cannot enjoy such things. How is our son doing? He is doing really well too. We really enjoy celebrating his small wins. Physically, once we started on his physiotherapy, he immediately showed improvement. Slowly but surely, he began to develop like any other normal baby, albeit a little slowly due to the lack of visual motivation. As of now, it seems like cognitively he is doing okay too. He has stranger danger senses, and when carried by strangers, he will become scared and cry, which is a good thing because he is able to discern between his parents and others. Emotionally, he is really happy all the time and laughs to our interactions, funny sounds that we make just like any other normal baby. I have to say that this is one of the things that contributes to us feeling so positive. We hope that it stays this way, since there is research showing that almost 30% of visually impaired babies develop some signs of intellectual disabilities. Once he reaches the age of 2 to 3, it will be clearer to us if he has any cognitive problems. Although he doesn't like to drink milk and isn't very motivated by food, but these are small issues in the grand scheme of things. What have we found out about his medical condition? We recently got back both our son and our genetic testing results. It is confirmed that he is suffering from Leber's congenital amaurosis due to a mutation in the NMNAT1 gene. There are 2 mutations identified within this gene, one is confirmed to be pathogenic, disease-causing, and the other is of unknown significance, but most likely pathogenic as well. The genetic test for my wife and I confirmed that both of us are carrying one of each mutation in that gene sequence. Since my wife and I are both sighted, he would also be sighted if he had only inherited one of these mutations instead of both. The probability of occurrence is 1 in 100,000 births, lower than winning 4D. What's next? As indicated above, we would like to use our voice to advocate for people with disabilities in Singapore. Although we are private people, we know that we will have to be strong and advocate for him, and in time, we will teach him how to advocate for himself as well. We also want to provide some support and put ourselves out there to help other parents of children with similar conditions globally, as others have helped us. I'd like to give credits to my wife, as she is the main driver for all these actions. A mother's love is truly infinite, and she is one of the strongest person that I know. I am glad to have her as a partner and a pillar in my life. This is not the end. This post will most likely be stored and archived. For future parents who are reading this post, I'll just like to say that we understand how you feel, and please reach out to us if you have any questions. While our story on Reddit is ending with this post, we will continue that journey on Instagram and on other future platforms. Thank you for reading this. 6 months later they grieved when their baby was born blind. Now they see a world of possibilities for him. Excerpt from the CNA article. Help came from an unexpected source. As Eric sat in hospital waiting for Elliot to undergo tests, he flicked his phone screen and went on Reddit, which he browsed regularly. He had never made a post on the forum, but that day, he did. It was simply baby born blind. The replies he got surprised and touched him. Some pointed out local resources and organizations that support the blind, others said they had visually impaired friends and were happy to share their experiences. People were so willing to help, he says. They gave us more than enough resources for us to get by. Stories number 22. Aita for not taking my sister in because she's pregnant. My sister sometimes think of things too late. Well, she doesn't think at all because she gets herself into sticky situations like the one she's in now. My sister is in college, wanted to become a lawyer, which I a great choice. She lives with our parents, but she does have to live under their rules or else she will be kicked out. She's a freshman and has been doing good, but it took a downside when she met her boyfriend. Ever since he came into the picture she changed. He's a junior, my sister talks about him like he's a god. I kinda knew stuff was going to turn out back when my sister started ditching her studies to go out with her boyfriend and his friends. My mom had to call late at night complaining about it. My parents basically spent all their money for my sister to get into her college to succeed in life, but it's not turning out how they wanted to. The thing is that my parents want my sister out because they made it clear from the beginning that they didn't want a baby living in their home. They didn't think my sister will finish her studies since she has this new responsibility. My parents want my sister to live with her boyfriend, but it seems like his parent has the same rule. It's crazy because when stuff like this happens, people dump it on me and don't care how I feel about it. I'm just used for everyone, I could never catch a break. My sister called with the same story as our mom. She told me she needs a place to stay and she thinks my home is the best place. I was nervous to tell her the truth, but I did. I told her I can't, but I did give her a women's shelter. She was angry and cursed me out for her doings. Stories number 23. My BF is Muslim, I'm not, but he told me he'd leave me if I drink or smoke. For context, me and my BF have been together for over a year now. When we first met he kept asking me if I drank or smoked. At the time I did smoke multiple times a week and would drink occasionally, maybe a few times a year, but never to the point of actually being drunk. I was honest with him and told him that, and my views on such things. I told him that I believe doing anything like that excessively is definitely harmful, but that since I deal with diagnosed, major mental illnesses that smoking is helpful to me every once in a while, to help me relax and think clearly, as that's very hard for me to do normally. He never really gave me a response, he told me he was sober and that's it. He never said anything about being uncomfortable me smoking. I feel like it's important to mention that this conversation happened about a month into us seriously talking, though we weren't official yet. And at the time, he had yet to mention anything about his religion. I had no idea he was Muslim. I don't quite remember when exactly he told me, but it was after we had been on multiple dates and he kinda went, yeah like so YK I'm Muslim. To which I was like, okay. He told me he didn't want to tell me in case I had something against it, which I don't. I was very confused about why he wouldn't tell me, and why he thought I would dislike him because of it. Also why he would risk dating someone for months while internally thinking they might hate him when he tells them the truth, like why risk the possibility of wasting both of our time and feelings. It just really seemed like he was hiding it, which didn't sit right me. Me being weirded out has nothing to do his religion, but the fact that he was hiding a major part of his life for months. Anyways, moving on from that, ATP I was still smoking. He had asking me to not smoke as often, so I went from smoking about 5 times a week to maybe once or twice. I noticed that he started to get really quiet and weird when I would smoke on FaceTime, or take one little hit before we would go to crowded places. I get overwhelmed really easily, but he still never said anything. After about 3 months of dating, we are officially together ATP, I mentioned that I had taken a walk to the creek in my neighborhood and smoked and read a book, and how nice it was that the weather was finally warm again. He went completely silent. I kept asking him what was wrong and he wouldn't say. I finally asked him, are you mad because I smoked? To which he finally responded, you said you wouldn't smoke as much, so why does it seem like nothing's changed? We got in a huge argument where he basically told me he actually doesn't want me to smoke at all, and if I do he would break up me. I felt totally blindsided by this, it wasn't fair at all. He started dating me knowing I smoke and never said anything about it until this conversation. I felt like he was trying to change me. I felt like he waited until he knew I was in love him to drop this on me. It felt like he was using my feelings for him to manipulate me into doing what he said, into being his perfect girl or something. He insisted that none of this had to do religion, that he had expectations in a relationship, and if I wanted to be him, I needed to fit that. But by this point I had already changed the way I dressed. He wanted me to show less skin because I'm his GF, so other PPL shouldn't get to see me like that. So I started showing less skin and wearing outfits that I felt horrible in. There was no personality in my clothes anymore. I stopped smoking completely to make him happy. Even though my mental health was terrible, I was overthinking everything and having anxiety attacks often. And honestly, even though it didn't have to do religion, sometimes I felt like it would be easier for him to be a Muslim girl, who would already agree him on these things instead of him asking her to change for him. Then we get to the drinking thing. It was my best friend's birthday and we were going to shop and have lunch together. He asked me if I was going to drink and I said, I might get one drink lunch, to celebrate her. He freaked out on me again, saying that he doesn't want to date someone who drinks, that it's not a religious thing, and that he wants the best for me and my health. So I asked do you not want me to drink for the rest of my life? What about in the future? And yeah, he fully expected me to never have a drop of alcohol again in my life if I wanted to be him. It's just so aggravating because even though my life doesn't revolve around drinking and smoking, I don't feel like I should have to limit myself to be someone who claims to love me, especially when I've never and will never use substances irresponsibly. It's me and my twin's 21st this year and she wants to go to New Orleans to a jazz bar, to listen to music and grab a drink. My sister is very anti-alcohol and smoking. She's never done anything like that in her life. But she said she'd like to get one drink me, to celebrate our 21st. And what I find insane is that my sister, who will probably never drink again, wants me to get one drink her and I can't without getting broken up It could all just feel so unfair. We live together and have S3X regularly, which is definitely haram, and he doesn't expect me to convert, but I'm not allowed to drink or smoke. Should I try to talk to him again? Should I keep limiting my life to be him or should I end things? I want him to be my husband and the father of my children. I couldn't describe our entire relationship on here, but he's an amazing man who genuinely loves me and wants the best for me. I love him so much and don't want things to end. I don't know what to do. Update. My BF is Muslim, I'm not, but he told me he'd leave me if I drink or smoke. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone who left nice comments. Though I don't appreciate the hateful ones, specifically when it comes to his religion. I think it's unfair to make such generalized comments about a religion as a whole. I do understand where people are coming from though. For everyone bringing his family into it, I spend a lot of time with his family and I love them all. They are wonderful people who fully support me and our relationship. They love me very much and do not expect me to convert or conform to their beliefs at all, even the ones he has asked me to. I have very close relationships with most of his family, especially his mom and sisters. So that's not really a factor in my situation. I've come to the conclusion that I do need to have a serious conversation with him about all this. I want both of us to be happy, but if we can't come to an agreement that would allow for mutual happiness in the long run, I've decided it's best to end things. I'm celebrating his sister's birthday with her soon, so I don't think it's best to have this conversation right before his whole family comes over. But I will talk to him soon after that, and be back with an update. I'm sorry to everyone who wanted an update super soon, I just want to be smart about it. Also thank you to everyone who DM'd me. I haven't responded to anyone yet because honestly I'm just overwhelmed right now lol, but I really appreciate it. The comments on my original post were turned off for some reason, so feel free to leave any other advice on this post if it lets you. Stories number 24. Aita for refusing to let my parents be alone with my daughter after I found out the truth about an old family friend. Growing up, Uncle Ted was always around. Originally, I played with his kids. Then, one day, his kids stopped being around and Ted disappeared too for a bit. He eventually re-entered the picture, but I never saw his kids again. I once asked my mom what happened to my friends and she said they went to live with other family members. I was pretty sheltered and raised in a don't talk back household, so it didn't seem odd at the time. Ted seemed to always be around. He'd babysit me and my brother, take us places, always bought us gifts. He wasn't our biological uncle, but was close enough to our parents that he was around. Then when I was 13, he abruptly disappeared from our lives. I asked my parents what happened but wasn't told and basically again got that don't talk back, just move on. I was a little sad but in time, got busy with other things and didn't think too much of it. I'm now married with a daughter of my own. A few months back, I ran into Ted's ex-wife. I almost didn't recognize her as I hadn't seen her since I was young and played with their kids. I asked how her kids were doing. She was kind of awkward and basically said, "We don't keep in touch." I thought that was a little odd but didn't want to push. I told my mom about the situation and she got a little weird. Finally, she said, "I guess it's time you found out the truth." She explained that Ted had been found with CSAM. He ended up taking a plea. He served only probation and had to go on a registry. Originally, his ex-wife didn't leave him. This led to both of them losing custody of their kids and they went into the foster system, later being adopted. His ex did eventually leave him. My mom claims that Ted made a bunch of excuses, tried to say he was framed. I asked my mom if she really believed that. She admitted, no, she never did, but Ted was so convincing that she didn't see harm in letting him be around. I asked what changed and she said they cut him off when he started dating a 16-year-old while he was in his 40s. My parents were disgusted but Ted kept parroting age of consent laws and claimed there was nothing wrong. Given I was only 3 years away from 16 at the time, it hit too close to home, and they cut things off. I was disgusted. I told my mom she was completely irresponsible. She tried to say, but he never did anything. I said no, but that's really a risk she was willing to take. I couldn't believe her. I couldn't trust her. I also wasn't sure if I could trust my own memories. I was in therapy for other things and after discussing this with my therapist in several sessions, we concluded while I wasn't abused, I was most likely groomed by Ted and there's a chance he was trying to get me to enter a relationship with him when I became of age. I was sick. My brother doesn't want to seek therapy and doesn't think he was being groomed, but also feels disgusted. I've spoken to my husband about this. He no longer trusts my parents' judgment either. My parents have apologized, but we feel it isn't enough. We went severely low contact and when we do see them, they are not allowed alone with my daughter. I don't trust their judgment. They say this is an overreaction. They made a mistake years ago and corrected it. I said yes, but only after basically leaving us to be sold out. Other family says we need to be easier on my parents and that hindsight is 20/20. Stories number 25. Now I'm just going to park there all the time. About a month ago, I moved into a residential neighborhood and it's important to note a few things as you read my story. My house does not have a driveway or garage, so I have to rely on street parking. This is not a gated HOA governed area and there are no signs restrictions permits whatsoever for street parking. This area is not walking distance to anything but other homes, so anyone parking on the street is either a resident of the area or visitor of a resident. No random people are trying to find short-term parking. It's a quiet neighborhood, so I can usually find street parking in front of or close to my house. However, there is one neighbor that lives 4 houses down that feels that they own the public sidewalk in front of their property and puts down cones to block off space that would fit about 3 cars. I refuse to give them the benefit of the doubt that they do this to save spots for themselves because I take my dog on frequent walks and I never have seen them use these spots to park. Additionally, they have a long driveway that never has any cars in it and a detached garage, so they already have ample parking for their personal vehicles that I've never seen. On that note, I have literally never even seen these neighbors. Other than occasionally seeing lights coming from their backyard during nighttime walks, I would probably assume there was no one living there. Shades are always closed in the front windows and never see any inside lights on from the front. One day, I drove home and there was no parking available except in front of their house. It was late and I didn't want to park a block away just because of this entitled house, so I simply moved a couple of their cones to the sidewalk and parked my car. The next morning, I saw that they had moved the cones back to the street behind my car, which I had to move again to get my car out. They definitely noticed and acted upon my legal street parking, but just shrugged it off. A week or so later, I couldn't find parking, so the same exact situation happened. Moved the cones and parked. The next day, I simply moved the cones they placed behind my car and went about my day. Yesterday, I had the situation happen yet again. Note that this is only the 3rd time in a month that I've moved the cones to park there. I take my dog on a walk this morning and I see a note on my windshield. It's not even a handwritten note and printed on a paper. This plate number has been turned into parking enforcement. We encourage you to park in front of your own residence for the consideration of your neighbors. This note pissed me off. First of all, if you believe in consideration of your neighbors, then you shouldn't be blocking access to public parking spots where your neighbors can park. Secondly, now you're threatening me for parking legally. You want to start this fight? I will make you pay. First, revenge. I called parking enforcement myself and explained the situation, and the lady laughed and said that my neighbors had no authority to give me a notice like that, as I assumed. They also gave me a number to a Bureau of Street Services investigator who can come to take a look and then issue them a citation. Lucky for them that they are currently closed for the week as it's Friday afternoon, but will be calling again Monday morning. Second, revenge. I live with my girlfriend who has her car parked in front of our house. I moved her car in front of the house with the cones to now make it 2 cars they didn't want there. Added bonus is that she has a Tesla, so there will be cameras in case they try to do anything to either of our cars. Potential third, revenge. If the citation situation doesn't happen or work out for whatever reason, I'm considering purchasing the ugliest, oldest, cheapest vehicle I can find and register it as a planned non-operational vehicle with the DMV and then keep it forever parked in front of their house. All things considered, I see no apparent reason why they wouldn't want to have anyone park in front of their house other than simple aesthetics. They don't use the spots to park their own vehicles and we would never have random people wanting to park there on a regular basis. TLDR, neighbor tries to keep people from street parking in front of their house by using cones, but now I just move the cones and park there, even if there are other spots closer to my home. Stories number 26. Aita for refusing to normalize my husband's behavior around our daughter's privacy. I, 38F, feel like my brain isn't working properly anymore. I'm running on fumes, work is draining me, family stress is piling up, and to top it all off, I haven't been sleeping well. But this? This feels like too much. We live in a tiny house, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. Privacy is already limited, but my husband, 37M, insists that it's normal for him to see our daughter, 7F, changing and even bathe her. But here's the thing, our daughter doesn't want that. She resists. She says no. And yet, he keeps pushing. This morning, I was helping her get dressed for school. She was completely naked when, out of nowhere, my husband just barged in. No knocking. No warning. Just walked right in while she was exposed. She immediately started crying. I tried to comfort her, but the damage was done. She was humiliated, upset, and scared. And my husband? He had the audacity to say I'm the one making a big deal out of nothing. That we should normalize this because both parents should be involved in childcare. That outsiders don't get to have an opinion on how we raise our kid. That I'm the one being unreasonable. I can't shake this horrible feeling in my gut. I don't know if I'm just exhausted, overthinking, or if there's something seriously wrong here. Am I crazy for feeling this way? Is he right and I'm just overreacting? Update. First of all, thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. I just ended up deleting the post because some of the comments were completely missing the point, and frankly, I was too emotionally drained to argue with strangers here on Reddit, cause I expected too much. This was never about whether my daughter can bathe herself or what. It was about my husband ignoring her discomfort and insisting that his behavior was normal when it clearly wasn't. After thinking things through, I confronted my husband again. I told him directly that our daughter's privacy and comfort come first, and I would not let this slide. He doubled down at first, still insisting I was overreacting, but when I refused to back down, he got defensive and stormed out. I took that as my answer. Right now, I'm focusing on my daughter. I've made sure she knows that her body is hers and that she never has to do anything she's uncomfortable with, even if it's a parent insisting. I don't know what my next steps are, but I know one thing for sure, she comes first. Thanks again for your time. Please don't repost this on other subreddit. Thanks. Stories number 27. Whoopta for refusing to go to my brother-in-law's destination wedding after his fiancée wore white to my wedding. A little background, my 32F husband, 38M, we'll call him Dan, has one brother, 33M, we'll call him Jordan, whom he has never gotten along with. Dan isn't much of a sharer so I don't know all the details, all I know is that according to Dan and Jordan's aunt, Jordan was horrible to Dan growing up. Jordan is also notoriously disliked and known to just not be a good person by just about everyone I've met that also know him. Their own grandmother warned me about him before we met. Now Jordan is not just unpleasant, he is a fully hatched bigot. Now I'm not usually very confrontational, I have the people-pleasing disease, but after a few drinks, I'm a tad more flippant with my opinion. Over Christmas, Jordan made a comment about people of other races not being real people, and I lost it, but the meanest thing I said was, "Thank goodness you live somewhere your opinion doesn't really matter, they live in a very very blue state." He responded that I didn't matter, lol, so I just got up and walked away to help his fiancée, 25F, we'll call her Katie, wash the dishes. I apologized to her, in my mind for having the deal with Jordan, but in her mind, it was for yelling at him, and she responded with something along the lines of, "No, I'm sorry, I wish I believed in something that much." I thought that was a little odd, but we were all pretty intoxicated so I just didn't pay much mind to that comment. I also agreed to be nice to Jordan for the rest of the evening, mostly to keep my MIL, who I love, happy. The rest of the evening, Jordan sulked in the corner, and while Katie, my MIL and FIL, Dan and I opened gifts, chatted and had a generally good time, considering what had happened. Some background on Katie I feel is important to the story. She's one of those women that looks like a real housewife. Not in a bad way, she just looks all glammed up, and is always wearing designer clothes, bags, and expensive jewelry. She actually looks a lot like a younger Brandi Glanville from Rob. I like nice things as well, but I'm much more the type to live in sweatpants unless I need to go somewhere that requires real pants. She's also very loud and loves to be the center of attention. Meanwhile, I'm dreading my own wedding day simply because of all the people looking at me. Katie and I really couldn't be more different, and I didn't necessarily see her as a bad thing at first, but there was something about her that rubbed me the wrong way and I just couldn't put my finger on. I was a little weary of anyone willing to date someone like Jordan, and I just had this weird feeling that Katie didn't actually like me, or was trying to one-up me in some way. That feeling probably came from the fact that Jordan and Katie got engaged 2 months after Dan and I and set their wedding to August of this year, 6 months after ours. I've seen enough Charlotte videos to know that maybe I was just being insecure or projecting or something, so I just kept those feelings to myself and tried my best to befriend my future SIL. But it just seemed so odd to me because Jordan and Dan's parents had absolutely no idea Jordan was even considering proposing. Things started to get weird though when I invited her to my bachelorette party via my MOH who was planning it, and her response was, "Thanks, but I already celebrated her in Nashville." Nashville was a trip we're both invited on with my MIL to visit Mill's sister and our future female cousins since they lived there. It was a semi-celebration for me but more of a girls in the family trip, and I had absolutely nothing to do with it. But fine, we don't live in the same state, and even though my bachelorette was a local one-day thing on a weekend, I understand it's a trip for her and not everyone can take off work afford to make the trip. I was still a little hurt but again, was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Keep in mind though, all this was before the Christmas chaos, but again, after the blow-up Katie and I seemed to be getting along fine. Surprisingly well, in fact, and I actually started to think maybe we could be friends. Flash forward to Dan and I's wedding day. The way the venue was laid out, I was able to see all the guests arriving and taking their seats from my getting ready suite. So I'm standing at the window, watching people arrive, getting pumped to marry the man of my dreams, and in walks Jordan and Katie in a white dress. I immediately just started laughing, simultaneously in disbelief and also not surprised. The night goes on and the vast majority of people in attendance, at least on our friend's side, were absolutely appalled. My wedding planner was livid and the bartenders even asked me, unprovoked, if I would like them to spill a drink or two on her. Honestly, at the time, I felt so vindicated and relieved that my instincts about her were correct. I told them not to worry about it. I mean, at this point, I feel like if you wear white to someone else's wedding, everyone there knows exactly the kind of person you are. The funniest part, I found this out later, that my MOH confronted her and said, "Why would you wear white to a wedding?" And she goes, "It's not white, it's cream. I would never wear white to a wedding." Picture attached is of a similar dress in the same color for reference. Now that a couple of days have gone by and I've had some time to stew, I realize how incredibly disrespectful that really was. I mean, she's either as stupid as she looked in that dress and didn't realize the dress wasn't appropriate, or she did it intentionally. So anyway, now on to the whipped part of the post. Jordan and Katie are getting married in August. It's a 4-day destination wedding in the Bahamas and would cost a minimum of $1,800, between the hotel and flight, for Dan and I to attend. I know this would really upset my MIL, but Dan and I really do not want to go. If it were in their hometown, we would just suck it up for MIL, but the idea of taking time off work and spending almost $2,000 to celebrate people who don't even hesitate to hurt us on our own wedding is not necessarily on my bingo card for 2025. I don't want to ruin my relationship with my MIL and FIL because they really are wonderful people, but I also refuse to spend the rest of my life being disrespected by Jordan and Katie, so I feel like we need to set the boundary now before it gets worse. So please tell me, lovely potatoes, Wobta, if we refuse to go to my BL's wedding after his fiancée wore a white dress to my wedding. Update. First, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who commented. I did not expect to get this much support from a group of strangers, and I appreciate every single one of you who offered advice, shared their own experience, and just made me laugh about the whole situation. Also, I learned from my last post and separated the paragraphs, so hopefully this won't be another wall of text. Okay, on to the update. Dan and I have decided we are not going to attend the wedding. As fun and petty as it would be to go and wear the same or a similar white dress, or to go and announce a pregnancy, I know in the end that would just hurt me and the in-laws I actually like more than it would Jordan and Katie. Plus their wedding guest list is 220 people, and if even half of them are like J and K, well, who knows what they would do if I showed up in white, I mean cream. There are a few family members on DH's side that we know aren't invited. I know, a 220-person destination wedding, and they couldn't even include the whole family, so we may go visit them during that weekend instead. As for MIL and FIL, we are planning to talk to them this weekend and are just going to be honest about why we don't want to go. I didn't mention this in my original post because I didn't think it was relevant, but MIL and FIL are fairly well off. They would 100% offer to cover the cost of the entire trip if we tried to use the excuse that we just can't afford it right now, so we might as well just tell them the truth up front. Fingers crossed that they can see our side of things and also realize that what Katie did was not only disrespectful to Dan and I, but to MIL as well. It is no secret MIL wants that big happy family, so to do something so blatantly inappropriate at what could have been the start of mending a relationship, seems like a slap in the face to her as well. Plus we genuinely fear what drama they would stir up once kids are involved, so we agree with everyone saying we need to set the boundary now before it gets worse. I will definitely provide another update, hopefully on this no picture post, after we have the talk. I also got to talk with my photographer this morning and share some of your amazing ideas with her, and she was loving it. She confirmed that Katie was only featured in 2 pictures and then in the background of a few others, so she said she'll send me the unedited photos first and then we can have fun. Update. Gather round, fellow potatoes, as Charlotte would say, we have an update. Before I start, I feel compelled to share, in case anyone was wondering, that Dan is 100% supportive of me sharing this story with all of you. I introduced him to Charlotte when we first started dating, and we often watch her videos together. The morning after the wedding, when we were discussing everything, he goes, "Well, on the bright side, at least you have a story for the subreddit." Quick background: I mentioned in a comment or two but not in either of my posts because I was trying not to ramble, but I realize now is relevant. After the Christmas blow-up, Dan had told MIL that we really did not want to invite Jordan and Katie to our wedding. We had invited people from all different types of backgrounds and did not want Jordan to say or do anything that would make anyone feel uncomfortable. MIL begged and pleaded, saying that Jordan would never, that she would watch him like a hawk all night, that she would disown him if he ever did anything, etc. And you all know the result of that conversation. So I learned a couple of new things about Katie and Jordan's behavior at the wedding. I heard from a few different people that K and J were being snarky and dismissive to guests, including to some of my family. I don't know exactly what was said, but I do know that the bartenders had to cut Jordan off halfway through the reception because of how much he was starting to act up. Now, you can do whatever you want to hurt me, that's one thing. But as a proud Italian American, don't you dare fuck with my family. That was truly the last straw. I told Dan what happened and we were both on the same page that we are absolutely not going to their wedding under any circumstances. We had kind of already made the decision, but we both knew there could be a way MIL could talk us into it. Not anymore, it was going to be a hard no. After finding all this out, I finally broke down about the situation and after a good cry, decided I needed to go on a nice long run. Well, while I was running, my amazing DH took it upon himself to give his mom a call and have the talk right then. And it went surprisingly well. Apparently, she didn't even argue, not once. She completely understood why we wouldn't go, based on the dress incident alone, and said she had no idea why Katie would do such a thing. When DH told her about Jordan being rude and getting cut off at the wedding, she was mortified and apologized profusely. She even acknowledged that something like that was exactly why we didn't want to invite them in the first place and she was so sorry. MIL is not a subtle person, she's basically a combo of Kitty from that 70s show and Mrs. Weasley from Harry Potter, so if she didn't agree with us or understand our point of view, she would let us know, and probably call me directly. But she didn't, so I do truly believe, if she blames anyone, she does not fault us for this decision. As some people suggested, DH and I will be using the money we would have spent going to the wedding on a trip to visit his chosen brother, his best man and college roommate, in Toronto during that weekend. And yes, we will post all the pictures of us having the best time. While I'm not going to be living out my petty dreams in the Bahamas in a cream dress, I'll still be listening to Lovely Slaughter's Petty AF, because what a bop, knowing I didn't piss off my future in-laws before I was even a part of the family. Stories number 28. Aita for refusing to keep being my sister's full-time caregiver after she unexpectedly moved in with me. My sister, 21F, had a baby almost 2 months ago via C-section, and I, 26F, have been helping a lot. I work with kids often, but I don't have or want any of my own. Since I have experience, my sister keeps saying I should be the one to help since I know what I'm doing. I understood she would need extra support while recovering, so I stepped in to help during the hospital stay and the first few weeks. However, I was caught off guard when she unexpectedly moved in with me. I thought she was just coming over for a visit, but instead, she showed up with all of the baby's things and made it clear she was staying. She said it was because my brother-in-law works nights and needs to sleep during the day, so staying with me would make things easier. I completely understand that she's recovering and exhausted, and I don't blame her for needing help. But I wasn't expecting to take on this much responsibility. For weeks now, I've been the one handling most of the feeding, diaper changes, soothing, and general care. Meanwhile, my brother-in-law gets to sleep all night and all day, and my sister, while struggling, relies on me for almost everything. I'm barely getting any sleep myself while also trying to keep up with work and other commitments. The thing is, this was a planned pregnancy. I can't help but wonder if they really thought about what care would look like once the baby arrived because, from my perspective, it feels like I was always meant to be the fallback option without ever being asked. When my sister was pregnant, I warned her that a baby is a lot of work and that she was rushing into it with someone she barely knew. They'll hit 1 year together this May. I also made it clear that just because I have a flexible schedule does not mean I'd be her built-in childcare. I have a job and other responsibilities that usually fill up my entire week. Now that I've started setting boundaries and stepping back from doing everything, my sister is upset and saying I'm a bad person for not wanting to help more. I feel bad, but I never agreed to this level of involvement. Aita for refusing to keep being my sister's full-time caregiver and setting boundaries. Stories number 29. Working for a rich person is eye-opening. I'm a maid assistant. So you can imagine there's quite some proximity. Oh man, my client is rich. I got lost in their mansion of a house first day because they told me to check their bathrooms. There was more than 2 or so. The wife was a doctor turned into stay-at-home mom. She cooks but the rest she pays for my services. She has 3 kids, they each have their own car, bedroom, bathroom, TV, PC. Kitchen is stacked. This one's a bit of a stretch but their house doesn't use keys. They got a code for the front door. The doors in the house have buttons you use to open and lock doors, instead of doorknobs. They have 3 cats. Those cats are blessed. It's not like I work for the Kardashians but still. It's a world I've never known. I'm intimidated. I feel like I've broken in even though it's my workplace. Stories number 30. Aita for refusing to let my coworker's girlfriend come on our work trip. I work in a pretty tight-knit sales team, and a couple of times a year, we go on work trips to different cities for networking and client meetings. It's a mix of work and team bonding, but it's still a professional trip. One of my co-workers, Jake, has been dating this girl, Sophie, for about 6 months. She doesn't work with us, has nothing to do with our industry, and from what I can tell, she just really doesn't like being away from him. She's shown up to a few of our work dinners, that are meant for the team, and it's been awkward because no one else brings their partners. We have a trip coming up, and last week, Jake asked if Sophie could come along. I was confused at first, so I asked if she had business there or something, and he just said, no, she just wants to come with me and make a trip out of it. I told him it didn't really seem appropriate since this is a work trip, and having someone's girlfriend tagging along changes the whole dynamic. He got annoyed and said he'd pay for her flights and hotel, so it's not like she'd be on the company's dime. I said that's not the issue, she's not part of the team, and this isn't a vacation. He kept pushing, and I finally just said, look, I don't think it's fair to the rest of us to turn this into a couple's trip. Now he's upset and acting like I'm being unreasonable. Aita for shutting this down. Stories number 31. Aita for leaving my husband because he never supported me, and for telling him through a text instead of in person. I, 30F, have been married to Chris, 32M, for 4 years. On the surface, everything appeared to be fine, but I couldn't ignore the cracks anymore. I'm feeling lost and am questioning whether I made the wrong decision. Maybe I'm overreacting. Chris has always been a great person in many ways, but when it comes to our relationship, it felt like I was invisible. His family is amazing, but there's been constant tension between me and his sister, Rachel. She's always been extremely critical of me, and Chris never stood up for me. She's made fun of my weight, my hobbies, my choices, and every time I tried talking to Chris about it, he'd just laugh it off and tell me to not let her get to me. But it hurt. It really hurt that he didn't have my back. It wasn't just Rachel, though. It was the little things that added up over time. He'd forget important dates, like our anniversary or my birthday. He'd leave dirty laundry around the house for days and never make an effort to help with cleaning. I worked full-time, took care of our home, and when I'd ask for help, he'd say he was tired or busy with work. But he never seemed too tired to play video games or hang out with his friends. The final straw came recently. I've been going through some health issues, and I've needed extra support from him. But instead of helping, he acted like it wasn't a big deal and told me I was overreacting. I went to the doctor and found out I need surgery, and I realized I couldn't continue like this. I can't keep giving everything and getting nothing in return. I told him I was leaving through a text because, honestly, I didn't think he would listen in person. He was so consumed by his work and hobbies that I felt like my feelings weren't even on his radar. I didn't want to make a big dramatic scene, so I just packed my things while he was at work and left. I left a message on his phone telling him I couldn't keep living like this. He's upset and hurt, and I feel guilty, but at the same time, I don't feel like I owe him any more of my energy. I don't know if I made the right choice, but I'm at a point where I need to prioritize my happiness and well-being. Now I'm wondering if I should have been more direct in person. Did I go about it all wrong? Did I act too hastily, or am I justified for walking away after everything I've been through? Am I the asshole? Stories number 32. Aita for telling my husband to book a hotel for us while we attend my SIL's wedding, rather than share accommodations with his family. My husband and I are going to be traveling soon to attend his sister's wedding along with our 1-year-old son. The plan was that we would land at his parents' place and attend one of the wedding ceremonies there. A few days after that, there's another wedding reception in my SIL's soon-to-be husband's city. My in-laws plan to book a few train compartments for the entire family, and an Airbnb for the stay there, 2 to 3 days. I really don't want to be in a confined space with my in-laws for that long, especially with my son. My in-laws and I used to be cordial with each other until my son was born. A few weeks after delivery, my MIL and SIL visited us to help. All they did was just find any opportunity to hold him, regardless of whether he was asleep or in my arms, criticizing me for being too clingy with him when I would put my foot down and basically started locking myself in my room with him, lament how poor my cooking was and how sorry they felt for their poor son brother who had to endure it, until both my husband and I had had enough and my husband hinted heavily that they had overstayed their welcome. Since then, I get hounded for not sending enough pictures and videos of him, and how I dress him. I'm so grateful we're far enough away that we see them rarely. I told my husband a couple of days ago that I'd rather we just fly from his parents' place to the other city and just stay at a hotel while we attend the second ceremony. My husband said that would make us look snobbish, that he himself wasn't over the moon about the whole itinerary but it was a family event and we should be with family. The fact that he wasn't into it frustrated me even more because like we're all making ourselves uncomfortable for what then? We got into an argument, his mother and sister's stay got rehashed and I told him he was choosing to make me uncomfortable rather than potentially risk his family being affronted. Aita, Stories number 33. Aita for being upset that my husband gave my food to his friend, I, 23F, and my husband Jeff, 25M, have been together for 7 years. We've recently got married about 10 months ago. With that, I also got a promotion at my job and I work longer hours. He has a friend, Sarah, 25F. I'm not close to her, I don't talk to her, but I will greet her and be civil if I have to. My husband knows her as they were in the same training for their job. They work in 2 different departments though. So to the problem, me and my husband had gotten off of work a bit earlier, so I decided to make a nice meal for both of us as we haven't been able to have a lot of time together, so I wanted to have a nice romantic dinner in our dining room. Fast forward some hours, after I finished cooking I only made enough portions for me, him and a bit for myself for my lunch tomorrow at work, so I let him know about my lunch I had in the fridge and that it isn't leftovers. Anyways, we're sitting down enjoying our meal and talking. That's when somebody walks in. Obviously I'm thinking somebody just snuck into our house or something because I never gave anybody a key. All I knew is that my husband and myself have a key. To my surprise, Sarah came walking in as she greeted my husband. I had to greet her first and she finally looked at me and greeted me. I looked at my husband and said, I didn't know we had company. He just shrugged it off and said, I decided to invite her over to hang out. I'm blindsided because I wanted this night to be just for us since we've been so busy. Sarah sits down and has the nerve to ask, where is my plate? I looked at her, I reminded her that I wasn't aware that she was coming over, so I didn't make enough and I apologized. She started calling me rude and inconsiderate, but I kept letting her know that I wasn't aware and I could Uber Eats or something if she wanted or fix her up a sandwich. She looked at my husband and asked why she didn't have a plate. I kid you not, my husband gets up, goes over to the fridge, takes my temporary lunch bowl out the fridge and reheats it and gives it to her. I immediately tried to take it but he moved it and I said, that's my lunch for tomorrow, and he replied to me, you could make yourself something else. To be fair, I was pissed. He gave the plate to her and she just started eating it and thanked him. Obviously I'm mad at this point and I was going on about how that was my lunch for tomorrow while he ignored him. Sarah kept calling me bitter and childish, saying it wasn't serious. I soon had enough and just stormed upstairs and never came back downstairs. My husband ended up coming upstairs very late at night and just getting into bed without even giving me a kiss. I wake up easily but I was still halfway asleep. I just want to know if I was being selfish and made a big deal out of him giving her the food. Edit, I'm getting comments saying I'm fake and AI. I do apologize for any mistakes in here. I do typically mess up with my words when I type fast and I apologize for that, but please stop being mean about it. I never posted on here though, are PPL usually this mean? Edit 2. I plan on talking to him tonight when he gets home. He's working later tonight so I'm gonna try to keep myself up and I'm gonna ask him if anything is going on with him and Sarah. Update, my husband gave his friend my lunch. This isn't gonna be a long update at all. I talked to my husband after he got home today and long story short, they have feelings for one another. He denied cheating but I feel like there was at least emotional cheating. I don't know what to do as I've been with him since I was 16 and he was my first everything. I can't even imagine a life without him. I'm currently at my mom's house. I came over here after all the chaos. He's been blowing up my phone with text and calls. First he was apologetic, to it was, she means nothing and now I'm insecure woman he claims. He tells me he still loves me but if I'm with you then I want to be the only one you love. Lots of you also pointed out that he was disrespectful, which he was, and I can't stand for that either. I checked the Ring camera and her car is currently in our driveway. Anyways, I feel like complete shit. Me and him mostly have mutual friends since I didn't have much friends in high school, just college, which is where I met him. We were in the same friend group. I've been crying and I'll admit embarrassingly I've thrown up about twice. My mom has been super supportive and tonight she's letting me forget with ice cream and rewatching Love Island. But she said it'll be temporary as me and her need to have discussions on what will be with me and my husband going forward. That's it though, thanks for all the advice I got and completely things get better. Again, I'm sorry if any of this is hard to understand as my hands are very shaky. Sorry and please refrain from any hate comments. Stories number 34. Aita for refusing to let my sister wear a white dress to my wedding, even though it's not technically a wedding dress. I, 27F, am getting married in a few weeks, and everything is pretty much set. It's a fairly traditional wedding, outdoor ceremony, dinner, dancing, the works. I chose an ivory wedding dress, nothing over the top, but elegant. From the beginning, I made it very clear, no one wears white except me. It's my day. My sister, 24F, is one of my bridesmaids, and she's always been a little dramatic. She loves being the center of attention. A few days ago, she sent me a photo of the dress she plans to wear, and I honestly thought it was a joke. It's completely white, tight-fitting, has a light train, and pearl detailing on the bodice. Basically, it looks like a minimalist wedding dress. I told her, very calmly, that this wasn't appropriate. She said it's not technically a wedding dress and I'm being overly controlling, that I always obsess over rules, and she just wants to feel pretty too. I offered to buy the same dress in a different color, it comes in deep green and burgundy, but she refused. My mom is now telling me to let it go to keep the peace, but my fiancé and friends all think she's being out of line. I finally told her that if she insists on wearing that dress, she won't be a bridesmaid. She hung up on me and texted a long message calling me a selfish bridezilla. Aita for putting my foot down about her white dress, even if it's not technically a wedding gown. Stories number 35. My ex constantly locked me out of the bathroom, so I took matters into my own hands. I was with my ex for a while. It was an unhappy relationship. I had bladder control issues and IBS. Whenever I needed to go to the bathroom, they would run in first and take their sweet time just to irritate me and make me suffer. It went on for a long time, and one day I just about had it. We had 2 cats and 2 litter boxes. One day he went running to the bathroom and was just playing on his phone and plucking his face hair and refused to let me go, so I decided I would just go poop in the cat's litter box. Not only was it a big poop, but I also peed a little. The cats literally wouldn't use that litter box after, and then my ex came and was investigating it and saw, and he goes, "Wow, they pooped a lot, no wonder they want their box cleaned," and I just sat there and watched him clean up my shit and piss. That was near the end of our relationship and he never found out. Edit, my ex and I were together for 4 years and he was a gamer and pothead. When he would run to the bathroom he would take his phone, Nintendo Switch in with him. Stories number 36. I won a jackpot on a cruise. Now my brother wants me to give him his fair share. Just as the title says. I won a small jackpot on a cruise a week ago. A little over 10K. My brother was with me when I won. After getting the hand pay, I gave him $2,000. Afterwards, he was passive-aggressive for the next day. On the last day, he proceeded to demand his remaining $3,000 because he believes we should have split it evenly because he didn't win. I reminded him it was my money I put into the machine, so why did he expect to get anything at all? I told him he should be grateful for what I gave him, as I didn't have to give him anything at all. He's since been passive-aggressive again now that we've gotten back. I've also heard from mutual friends that he's been calling me greedy and how I'm selfish. Stories number 37. My dad, M57, has been dating a woman, F21, for 1 year. I, F29, am struggling with it and frankly grossed out. How do I let it go? TLDR, my dad is dating a woman 36 years his junior and 8 years younger than me. It's been going on for a year now and I think it's gross and am wondering how to address it with myself so I can stop looking at my dad in a gross, pig way. LOL. Title: My dad and I are incredibly close and have a warm, healthy, honest and supportive relationship. We spend time together often and that includes chatting about our relationships. I'd say we are fairly open about pretty much any topic. 3 years ago, he broke up with his long-term girlfriend, who he had a 5-year age gap with, which I think is totally normal, after about a year of turmoil and incompatibility. Since then, he has been openly dating younger women. And in January last year, a little over a year ago, he dropped the news on me he was dating someone who was on spring break. I thought he meant a teacher, but no, he meant a 20-year-old woman. In the last year, they've broken up countless times, she's professed her love for him and wants to marry him, they've traveled and spent a lot of time together. I have never met her and my dad has never wanted us to. It's been a toxic cycle front and center in his life. Last week, he said he broke up with her for good, again. Well, tonight, I saw on his location he was out in an active area around 2 a.m. at a club. And I texted him who he was with, lo and behold. My dad is an entrepreneur and has a pretty cushy life and successful fruitful career. I'm concerned as my dad has now admitted he's catching feelings and has considered accepting, this is it and I'll introduce her to OP and we will be together. The fuck you will. I guess I'm coming to terms with this is now affecting me where I'm starting to struggle with my dad's decisions. It's giving Bill Belichick. And I don't even know the extent of these dates, is he buying her shit? I'm an above-average attractive woman. I have been approached by men for years and it truly disgusted me and is predatory. So has anyone else had a parent in a relationship with someone younger than yourself? Maybe try a 36-year age gap. Stories number 38. My dad was on a jury. They found the defendant not guilty before lunch. Most just trials are short. The odds of you being a juror on a long trial is very slim. This was in Key West, Florida. A cop had stopped a bicyclist to talk to him for some stupid reason. During that conversation the bicyclist had his bicycle straddled between his legs. He lost control of the bike for a moment and the momentum moved the bike forward, physics, and barely touched the cop. He was arrested for assault on an officer. Thankfully my dad and the other jurors saw through this shame trial to protect the power-tripping cop's ego. What a waste of tax dollars. Stories number 39. Father-in-law trying to sue me for having security camera in our house. Looking for what my legal rights are for having security cameras inside our house. We have 2 cameras inside and 1 doorbell camera outside. 1 camera is overlooking our family room and front door. 1 camera is overlooking kitchen, back door, and garage door. 1 camera is the doorbell. Father-in-law has apparently consulted with a lawyer about suing myself and my father, who doesn't live with us. He lives 1,400 miles away and has no access to the cameras or our house, for filming and recording him and his wife without their consent. For example, my wife and I let them watch our daughter who is under 4 years old while my wife and I have our very rare date night. Father-in-law has threatened to call my place of work to ruin me, which I'm not sure how to take that or protect myself from that sort of slander. Any thoughts and advice are more than welcome. I have contacted a local law firm to get some advice as well. Stories number 40. Nosy neighbor keeps pushing her dumb but hot son on me. I got this neighbor, let's call her Miss Tower of Power because this woman is tall, nosy, and always up in everybody's business. She's got her eyes on everything. If you sneeze, she's at your door with a tissue and a list of questions about your allergies. Miss Tower has a son. He's fine. Like, fine. If looks were a job, he'd be the CEO. But, if brains were a job, he'd be fired. This man has the personality of a wet paper towel and the conversation skills of a rock. I tried to be nice at first, but after he asked me for the 3rd time what my favorite color was, like he didn't already ask me that 2 months ago, I had to shut it down respectfully and I thought that was that. But no, Miss Tower is obsessed with the idea of me and her son being together. Every time I see her, she's like, oh, my son was just asking about you. Girl, no he wasn't. He doesn't even know what day it is. Then she'll say, you two would be so cute together. Ma'am, I don't need cute, I need someone who can hold a conversation about something other than the weather. She'll be like, oh, he's outside fixing his car. You should go talk to him. Chilly, I don't care about his car. I don't care about his job. I don't care about his favorite color. I told him months ago to leave me alone, and now I'm stuck dodging both him and his mama like I'm in a real-life game of Survivor. Do I just move to a new neighborhood and change my name? Because I'm tired honestly. Stories number 41. My mother admitted something to me that really bothered me. When I was in high school I applied to a bunch of colleges. This was back in 2007, when colleges sent acceptance letters through the mail. My relationship with my family has always been problematic as they both preferred my older brother, mainly because he wanted to be a doctor while I wanted to write and direct movies. My older brother never had the grades of attitude to be anything, let alone a doctor. He always threw tantrums when things didn't go his way and he built a reputation in school of being a cry-baby mama's boy. I never got accepted anywhere and ended up getting thrown out by my dad who called me an idiot. I spent a year sleeping on a friend's couch before I got a stable job in line painting. I had to break up with my high school sweetheart as well, as the stress got to me and she got into college, and we grew apart. Now it's been 18 years since all of that, and I own a line painting company and an asphalt repair company. It wasn't easy and I did get hurt a bunch of times on the job, so now I have shoulder issues and lower back issues. My mother reached out to me recently and we met up to talk. My dad was there. I haven't seen them in years. She revealed that my brother still lives at home and flunked out of college and refuses to get a job. He spends all day sleeping. He also got into trouble in the past for assaulting his barber. My brother is bald by the way. She then tells me that I actually had gotten accepted into a bunch of different colleges and shows me a stack of old mail back from 2007. It turns out that both she and my brother were intercepting the acceptance letters from the mailbox, because she didn't want me to succeed at something before my brother did. They both said they were sorry for everything and wants to start over with me. I haven't forgotten the terrible way they made me feel in the past, and now I'm not entirely sure what to do. Stories number 42. My family ate all of the KFC that I ordered. It all started from a raging period craving. I specifically wanted to eat KFC. I remember almost tasting the oil, craving it. I don't even like it normally. I ordered it and told my sister to wait for the delivery guy because I had just taken some powerful prescribed painkillers for my period pain. I have endometriosis, so my period is agonizingly painful every single time. The painkillers left me drowsy, and I slept for a good 3 hours. Came downstairs, expecting cold KFC. I can already imagine it. Instead, what I got were boxes filled with bones and half-empty sauce packets. The ultimate betrayal. I'm shocked beyond words. Mind you, I ordered enough for the whole family. I'm not some narcissist who ordered food only for myself. I ordered enough for everyone, and they still ate my share. I'm in pain, I'm hungry, and I'm hurt by their betrayal. I just can't wrap my head around how they have no decency to leave me some food. I would be content with just half-eaten fried chicken at least, but all they left me is sucked chicken bones. My sister saw me becoming visibly angry, and rushed to calm me down. I just told her to wear a bra and off we go to the nearest KFC store. I drove slow. Quiet the whole way. When we arrived, I ordered my sister to get out and get me the same amount of food from before. Stayed in the car, cramping uterus still ongoing. Arrived home and invited my family to eat KFC with me. Nobody touched anything as I ate. One piece of chicken is all it took to satisfy my craving. The leftover chicken was still hot. I left it there in the living room with them and went to sleep. I didn't shout or get mad, but the guilt and awkwardness worked as they apologized one by one. Stories number 44. Aita for refusing to drive 4 hours, so my sister doesn't have to drive through NYC. For context, my parents, 60M/F, recently got my sister, 19F, a new car so she would be able to drive to at college. However, since buying her car, my parents have not let her drive from Long Island through NYC. One of them would drive her car a couple hours, the other driving another car. They would stop somewhere, then go home together, while my sister would drive the rest of the way to college through rural upstate New York. My parents said they were concerned about her driving past the city as she was inexperienced. At the time I thought that this would be a 1 or 2 time thing and that they probably want to let her not only get used to the car but also driving through NYC. Flash forward today, my dad was diagnosed with vertigo and is unable to drive at this time. My mom asked me, 22M, to do the drive with her instead. However, I objected. This will be the 4th time this has happened and I would not be compensated in any way, gas money, etc. If this was the first time I would understand. However, she has had her car for almost a year and drives frequently at school. I asked my mom if this is what my sister wants or if this is what she wants, advising she, sister, has a nice, new, safe car and in my opinion is more than capable of doing the ride. I feel like it's also a little wasteful with regard to gas and time. My mother responded, saying that she is uncomfortable driving through that area. Then, my mom asked if I had driven on the parkways with my sister, because if I have I would not want her driving through the city. My parents both tried to get my sister to practice driving on parkways so she would be better/more comfortable when doing so, however she refused to practice and my parents did not force her. This is another reason why I don't feel responsible to help my sister avoid driving past NYC. Furthermore, I personally feel if this is what my mom truly thinks, my sister should not have received a new car. Additionally, I feel that my parents' plan doesn't provide for my sister to grow as a driver as there is no exit strategy so she could eventually drive to school, including through NYC, on her own. In the past, my mom has always emphasized with me that one day she will not be here and I will have to do things on my own, claiming, "What would you do if I was dead?" However, I feel this sentiment was lost with my sister because she is the youngest. Also, I want to stress that it is my parents who want me to do this, not my sister. She wants to drive on her own but doesn't want to fight my parents in the issue. However, my objection to this request has been met with my parents saying, "This is only 4 hours of your life, and, do it for us, not for your sister." I personally feel the request is frivolous, holds my sister back, contradicts the purpose of buying my sister a new car in the first place, given the fear of her driving ability, and warrants compensation to some degree for driving 4 hours. So, AIT. Stories number 45. Someone called the cops on my husband for hitting their daughter with a dodgeball. We were at an all-ages indoor play place today and they have a dodgeball court. My husband went out there, as many other parents do, because it's all ages, because my son wanted him to come play with him. Many of the kids started ganging up on my husband and everyone was having a good time. He grabbed a dodgeball and threw it and it hit a girl, who was 13, in the face. My husband immediately apologized because it was an accident. The girl ran off the court and grabbed her dad who then threatened my husband and demanded $200. When my husband said no, the guy called the police and told them that my husband deliberately hit their daughter. The manager told the dad that he signed a waiver for his daughter and it's literally, play at your own risk, which is also posted on the dodgeball court. The dad then asked the manager if he was allowed to punch my husband in the face. Then we had to wait there and talk to the police, who were thankfully on our side. Stories number 46. Aita for protecting my daughter's body autonomy. Hey. Some context. My mother has been married to her husband for around a decade, but I do not think of him as my stepfather and tbh don't really like him. I have a 6-year-old daughter and there have been a couple of things in the past he's done that bothered me. When she was a baby he was holding her and put his unwashed thumb in her mouth to suck. I was repulsed. When she was a toddler he began kissing her on the lips when saying goodbye and I told him to stop because I think it's inappropriate. 2 weeks ago, I was in a cafe with my mother, her husband and my daughter had cake crumbs all over her legs, lap and seat. My daughter was sitting between me and mother's husband. I began brushing crumbs off my daughter's legs etc. and then he began brushing crumbs off her seat and his hand was basically between her legs almost touching her private parts. Without even thinking about it, by instinct, I guess, I immediately took his hand away and firmly said, "Leave it," and he looked at me kinda shocked. Nothing more was said until I arrived home and received messages from my mother basically saying they're shocked and saddened that I could think he's capable of awful things and he's known her from birth etc. and I've really upset him. But I haven't said he's capable of anything. My issue is that he lacks boundaries, is over-familiar and my view is that a 6-year-old's physical boundaries should be respected as much as a 16-year-old and it's my place to protect her. I've had a long back and forth with my mother via text messages for the first week and now it's gone silent. This could be the end of my relationship with my mother. Am I the asshole? Stories number 47. Aita for holding on to my niece's belongings until my things were returned. A few weeks ago, my sister and her daughter came over for a visit. We had a nice time. The adults chatted in the kitchen while the kids played in the living room. I collect small ceramic figurines and display them on a shelf. They aren't worth much, but they're special to me. A few days after their visit, I noticed some figurines were missing. At first, I thought I had misplaced them, but then I saw a photo on social media that my sister posted. One of my figurines was sitting on a shelf in my niece's room. I messaged my sister and asked if they had taken them by mistake. She said her daughter probably took them because she liked them and promised to bring them back next time. When they visited again, the figurines didn't come with them. My sister said she forgot. By then, I was more annoyed than anything. After they left, I gathered up all the little things my niece had left behind during previous visits, some toys, notebooks, and hair accessories, and gave them to my sister's friend who works nearby. I asked her to return them only after I got my stuff back. That evening, my sister called me, clearly upset. She said I was being petty and that I shouldn't drag kids into adult problems. I told her that if her daughter was old enough to take things that didn't belong to her, she was old enough to learn that actions have consequences. The next day, my sister showed up with not only my figurines but also a few extra ones that weren't even mine. I returned them all and gave back her daughter's things as well. I told her that in the future, I expected her to handle things more seriously if something like this happened again. Now my sister is mad and says I overreacted. My mom thinks I should have just had a calm talk instead of making a point like that. So, Aita for standing my ground. Stories number 48. HOA approved fence over a year ago, now they are saying they shouldn't have. We bought a house with an HOA almost 2 years ago. We live on a corner lot. We did all the paperwork and got approved twice, by the HOA and the architectural side, to build a fence to enclose our backyard. They emailed today saying that other lot owners have complained about how far our fence extends past our house. The HOA said it was an oversight when they approved the length of our fence. They said they would pay to have the fence moved back to new approved spot. We like having a fence so the kids do not run out into the street. My question is, do they have the power to take back an approval from over a year ago? What options do we have? Stories number 49. I got upset my husband locked me out. So, during the last few weeks my husband has, absent-mindedly, locked me out of the house 4 times. He goes in the house while I park the car, then he locks the door behind him. The first few times we laughed about it, but yesterday, 4th time, I lost it a bit, specifically because when my son eventually came to open the door, not my husband, for me, my husband was just a few feet away talking about a restaurant booking with our oldest son, ignoring my hammering on the door. I said, seriously? Again? He got upset because I'm upset about something he didn't do, on purpose. I said, that makes it almost worse, you just completely forgot that I was still outside, for the 4th time in 2 weeks. He has barely spoken a word to me since, because he's expecting me to apologize for getting upset. Stories number 50. How to attract a long-term life partner who is genuinely interested in you rather than what you have to offer. I'm 30M and have been on a couple of great dates with a woman I really like, we click really well. However, I didn't disclose my actual earnings, which are comfortable for my age. Mostly due to a side hustle. Whereas my day job does not pay the best if Googled. So I downplayed them because I didn't want her to be attracted to me for financial reasons. Since then, she seems to have pulled back a bit, although she's still interested in another date, so it appears to be okay. Did I handle that the right way? I'm looking for a long-term partner. Ada, parents expect us to have a guest room made up for them. Pretty sure I know the answer, but my parents keep going on about this. My husband and I have a 3-bedroom house. We don't have children. We have our bedroom, then we have my study in his study games room. His study is in the bigger bedroom, so we have a sofa bed for the rare occasion we have guests or one of us is ill. My parents have never stayed with us because they refuse to sleep on the sofa bed and think it is childish that my husband has a man cave. I'm happy to offer up our bed, but they don't want that either. They say it's normal to have a room with a proper made-up bed in it for guests that otherwise gets no use, as they do. For what it's worth, my parents have a 4-bedroom house and one of those bedrooms is my dad's man cave, but his hobby is model cars and not video games, so that's more valid apparently. We are moving to a new house on a quieter street that is again 3 bedrooms, and my parents have expressed hope that we will forego my husband's man cave and have a room dedicated to them for the 2 to 3 times a year they might visit. I disagree, as this is our house, we live in it, and we choose how the rooms that we pay for are used. If we didn't want the space, we'd downsize to a 2-bedroom house. I'm planning to buy a new sofa bed anyway, as the one we have isn't that comfortable, so fair enough, but they're against any sofa bed, even a fancy one that costs more than our own bed. So yeah, are we TAH? Stories number 52. Ada for kicking my sister out after she refused to follow one simple rule. So a few weeks ago, my younger sister, Emily, 26F, asked if she could stay at my house for a while. She was going through a rough patch, bad breakup, lost her job, the usual. I, 30M, live alone in a nice house with my dog, Baxter, a big, friendly Labrador who's basically my kid. I told Emily she could stay as long as she needed, but I had one rule: do not leave doors open. Ever. Baxter is well trained, but he's an escape artist. If he sees an open door, he's gone. He doesn't run away permanently, but he'll sprint out into the neighborhood, and I have to chase him down. It's a hassle, and I've had to get him from random backyards more times than I can count. I made it clear to Emily, close the door. Every time. No exceptions. She laughed it off, said, yeah, I got it, and moved in. Fast forward 2 days later, I come home from work, and, yep, front door is wide open. No Emily in sight. No Baxter. I freak out, grab his leash, and spend over an hour running around the neighborhood like a lunatic, calling his name. Turns out some random guy a few streets over had grabbed him before he could run into traffic. Thankfully, Baxter was fine, but I was furious. I get home, and Emily is just chilling on the couch. I ask her what happened, and she shrugs and says, oh yeah, I guess I forgot to close it. I lost it. I reminded her that I had one rule and that she put my dog in danger. She rolled her eyes and said, relax, he's fine. It's not that serious. I told her if she couldn't respect something this basic, she needed to find somewhere else to stay. She got all defensive, saying I was being dramatic over a dog, and that she had nowhere else to go. I stood my ground. Now, she's staying with a friend, and our parents are pissed at me, saying I overreacted and chose a dog over family. Some friends agree, saying it was a simple mistake. But I don't think forgetting once is an excuse when I made it so clear how important it was. Stories number 53. Ada for not showing up for a shift I was scheduled. My coworker, who is sick every other week and needs her shifts covered or switched around often, texted the work chat the other day that she was sick, yet again, and asked to switch. She also complains about not getting enough hours even though she calls out. I prefer to have a set schedule every week, but I decided to switch with her this time. She said hopefully she would feel better today. I worked her shift 2 days ago. Yesterday I go into work and was surprised to see she had worked her morning shift. After work she came up to the bar, got herself a shift drink and sat down to eat her meal/drink a beer. She looked/sounded fine. Afterward she asked to take a shot with our other coworker who was off as well. They discussed hanging out and if they should buy beer or not. Today, just a few hours before the shift I was scheduled for but had given to her, she texts the work chat saying she is still sick and I needed to work my shift as originally scheduled. I got extremely annoyed because I made other plans today. I told her in the work chat that no, I was not going to work today because I assumed she was feeling better because the day before she was taking shots/drinking and had been working. She asked if anyone else wanted to work, and no one responded. She then messaged the manager to tell them she wasn't working my shift and that I had to. The manager is now mad at me because I refused to come in after my coworker's behavior and making other plans. Ada for not showing up to my shift. Didn't even grant the wish of a dying man of just speaking to me, telling me that's all he wanted. Alex just blocked all those accounts and put his account in private for a while, and told me not to let them get to me, that I did nothing wrong. Although I truly didn't wish to speak with Nico, didn't have anything to say to him and didn't want to hear anything from him either, I began to wonder if I should have just listened to what he had to say, just so that he would go without holding anything. But I don't know if I truly think that or if I have just let the creeps of his family get to me. I don't know. Aita. Stories number 55. People who start families are the ones who abandon their friends, not the other way around. I am so tired of single and child-free people catching shit for abandoning their friends or wanting nothing to do with them after they have kids. I have lost all the important people in my life to starting a family. As someone with a crappy blood family, my found family aka my closest friends have been my biggest support system. And now they are unreachable and busy with their own real families. It just goes to show that found family is just as important as blood relatives, is all bullshit when it really comes down to it. I know it's not malicious. I know it's not that they don't care about me anymore. They are quite literally too busy raising another human being, and that takes priority over everything. I know that and I get that. That's what you're supposed to do. And they're surrounded by their own blood relatives and family to tend to their every want and need. I'm so glad they have that support system. But there is no need for me anymore. I was so ready to bake things, bring presents, offer any help necessary. I was so ready to be involved, to be an aunt to my best friend's kids. But it's all covered, and I can't just drop in on them uninvited to try and help or hang out, because that's rude and they could be doing anything, including getting some much-needed sleep. There is no time or room for me in their lives for the foreseeable future. And when they decide to hang out with their friends, who do you think they're going to choose? Me, a child-free person with nothing to offer? Or their other friends who also have kids so that the kids and babies can socialize and experience things as well? And even now, I'm just the selfish one for making this about me, right? I'm so over it. It's fucking lonely. Rant over. Edit. Thanks so much everyone for the support. I thought I was just screaming into the void here, but I'm happy to read all the comments. Thank you to all the people that can relate for validating my feelings with similar frustrations, and thank you to all the cool parents, aunts and uncles for encouraging me to keep my head up and hang in there. I will just come out and say I know I'm being dramatic when I say abandon, and I know that a lot of times in these situations there is no wrong or right, just people living their adult lives. I also know that sometimes friendships, kids or not, sometimes require you to insert and invite yourself. I'm gonna keep trying to be the best, beastie aunt I want to be, and again thank you to everyone for the kind words of support and encouragement, whichever side of the experience you fall on.